that sledgehammer you rode with me for a while up to Marnarvon.
Mm-hmm.
And we were riding along. Remember, I crashed. You're like, what?
Yes, you did. You like all of a sudden were fucking gone in the sticks. I was like, where the fuck did Chad go? It was like instant.
Well, I was riding along, and I'm like riding by myself. It's raining, and it's raining. And I heard people behind me, and I look, and I'm like, oh, it's Todd. Yeah, I remember that riding together.
Do you know who Terry Tate is?
Yeah,
the Office linebacker.
Yeah,
it's like that was your Terry Tate moment out on the 28 HAMR. He just fucking took you out. We're rolling, right?
We are rolling.
Well, here we're actually live right now. Episode 8, I think. There you go. So we're talking since we're like sitting here rambling as we start to roll tape. We're talking about the 2018 HAMR
sledgehammer
Huron
mountain race.
Huron Adventure
mountain race.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then the next year it ended up turning into Crusher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, okay, yeah, we'll get through that. Then we'll go back to the actual day of, because I want to talk about what transpired on top of Arvon. So, the event was the Huron Mountain Crusher. Mm-hmm. That's what Mike Beck and Matt Beardsley started.
Yes.
Matt Beardsley, owner of 231 West. Shout out to Matt. They did a great job at our leadership summit this past weekend. He's a good
dude.
He is a good dude. So they started the Huron Mountain Crusher in 2014, and then I didn't do it until 2016. That was my first year. Did the long version of it. It was always like this grassroots, off the radar
like
thing.
A gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
I'd show up, do it, survive.
Yeah, no fees, no bells and whistles. It was great. Not many people knew about it. The first time I did it, I was like, oh yeah, this is where it's at. So I went back and did it again in 17. Were you up here? Did you do it either 16 or 17? Had you done it before it turned into HAMR?
I haven't. No, nothing. I heard about some crazy rides up there because 2013, I put together I call it the Super Youper dirt tour, bikepacking trip from Copper Harbor to Traverse City, 580 miles, all dirt, mostly dirt. So I heard about it, rode through I mean, the key day for me was riding through the Huron Mountains. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Which is now like a main area for the Crusher.
Yeah. I mean, I've crisscrossed that section of country so many times.
So 17, when I went back and did it again, Matt that year set it up so that the long version was actually intended to be a bike pack, a 2-day ride. I think 1 or 2 people did it as a bike pack route. And then it was me and a couple other people. We decided, let's just do it in a day. So we went out, we did it in a day. It was like 190, I think. After that, so I did that in July or August. We got through Marji that year. And then I got a hold of Matt in the fall. And I was just like, dude, what's your intention with this? Is it always going to be forever under the radar? Because I think that there's a bigger potential here and more people need this opportunity. And so that first year we ended up, working together and transitioning. The reason we transitioned from the name Huron Mountain Crusher was because we were going to have to start charging for it, So we called it HAMR, but everybody kept calling it Crusher because that's what it was.
Yeah, crush your soul.
So yeah, eventually we're just like, oh, fuck it. They're calling it Crusher. Let's just call it the Crusher.
Yeah.
And move on.
I mean, I like the name Sledgehammer, but yeah, I mean, Crusher, crushes your soul, crushes your bike.
Well, when we first made the shift from Huron Mountain Crusher over to HAMR, the intention was actually to sort of mirror what they're doing down in Pisgah. There's an event down there where, it's like this team event, team format. You have to go out, find checkpoints and stuff. And actually, that was a very successful part of HAMR in 2018. It was a very successful part of the Crusher in 2019. And then it kind of fell apart because in COVID, all that we could do. You couldn't really do a team event. It just part of the excitement of a team event is that you're going out there against other teams in the the unstructured, because there's no route.
Yeah.
You just have checkpoints. You have to go find them, and you can do it however you want to do it as long as you get in under cutoff, etc. But that died after COVID and never really came back.
Right.
So
I remember the checkpoints in Sledgehammer. They were easy.
yeah,
You had them on sawhorses.
yeah,
Printed out board.
yeah, big sign.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, yeah, we can find this one down at the bottom of AAA, and yeah, I remember that. That was it was fun. I enjoyed that. That was my first foray into, hey, let's ride all day, all night, all day. Let's do 190 miles in one day. And I remember, I think a couple of years later, you told me, you're like, Crusher's your jam. Because Marji, we can talk about Marji. The
Yeah, we'll get there.
Journey of Marji. But,
Crusher, I think, fits you because you reference that Super Uber tour.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same format.
Yeah.
Same type of deal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, 100 plus miles a day trying to get across the UP. Mm-hmm. So
let's go back to that HAMR day. What was it? It was in the 50s, right? Pretty much.
Well, so being someone that plans, I'm a planner.
Yep.
And I don't worry about stuff. It happens. But it was nice. Like in Traverse City, it was in the 80s. I mean, it was mid-July. Mm-hmm. It was in the 80s in Traverse.
Yep.
It was in the 70s up here. Friday, we did our gear check.
Yep. Racer meeting,
Garmin check, all that for the unprepared. But
and we had that big map.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the map?
Yeah, everyone's taking pictures.
Yep.
I'm like, I got the map right here in my E-Trex.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're like, I had my son up there. My son Noah supports me on all this stuff. I think there's some reluctance, but I think he goes to make sure I don't die. Mm-hmm. Like a directive.
He's there to keep an eye on you.
Yeah, directive from my wife. You need
pick up your gear if something goes wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and then part of that format, you're like, all right, I'm going to wake you guys up between like 3 and
that's right
5 a.m.
Random start time.
Yeah.
It was
and you have an hour to get ready.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, I mean, Noah and I, that Friday night, went to bed. I said, here's my bike. You know what to do. You know, Todd's going to wake us up. Who knows? And he kept asking me, so when do you think he's going to wake you up? I said, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it'll be 5. Maybe it'll be 3.
People were freaking about that.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me, Lisa Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
The whole snorkel thing. Mm-hmm. The day before, as she was working on her bike, changing out brake pads, and she was nervous, like, what do you think of this snorkel thing? I don't know. I don't have to worry about it. I'm 6'5". Water won't be over my head. I don't know. Who knows?
For anybody who doesn't know the snorkel thing, the snorkel was a required piece of gear that year for the HAMR. You were required to have a snorkel in your kit.
Right. Part of the mind game.
Part of the mind game.
Yeah. You got to know how to play the Marji, the Crusher, the Polaroid mind game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we went to bed. And I remember I sleep really good outside. I love it. Noah was trying to wake me up. You're walking through
shaking tents,
Forestville campground, waking everyone up. Noah's like, Dad, wake up. Come on. I'm like, sleeping good. Got to get up. It's 4 a.m. You woke us up at 4 a.m. And I could hear sprinkles on the tent.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, and up to that point, I was like, I'm not a big fan of rain. It's going to be miserable. But hey, that's what we're supposed to do. And Sledgehammer cured me of rainy disease, where everyone's like, oh, I want a perfect day. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, looks like it's going to rain. It was like barely it was like 55 degrees.
Yeah, it was mid-50s.
All day.
Mm-hmm. All day and all night.
Yeah, all day, all night.
And rain.
It rained. I think I calculated it out. Of that 23 hours I was out there, 19 of it was rain. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking like dinkle rain. We're talking like hard rain. Driving rain.
When you hit the shit.
Yeah.
It was driving rain.
It was driving rain. So I remember coming down off from Mosquito Gulch, because I think he made us go down it that year. And it's like this it's like a half pipe of sand. And I'm like, what is this? And then I remember coming down into the Pashiki grade, and I could hear the rain coming. And I put my rain jacket on. I had my Marmot jacket, and I never took that thing off.
I really didn't know after you crashed. Because even leading up to the crash, I wasn't, because we'd been riding together for a bit. I was like, I don't know. Because we didn't really know each other. I mean, we knew of each other, but I didn't know you.
Right.
And I was sitting there like, I remember thinking like, I don't know if this guy's in the right headspace. And then you fucking ate shit. And I'm like, holy shit, who is this guy?
Who is he?
Yeah, I was not sure if we'd be seeing you at the finish line, but eventually we did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was... No matter what, I'll suffer very badly to finish. But sometimes, I mean, quitting Marji a few times and Polar Ultra a few times, there's common sense that has to take over. Because I got to work Monday. So
Sure.
so
Yeah, there's other priorities.
Yeah, that was... Sledgehammer was probably a defining growth moment for me. Because I'm like, I can do this stuff. I can ride all day, 200 miles in the rain, up Mount Arvon, you know, middle of the day, middle of the night, you know, just being prepared, you know.
So that day, if we fast forward to Arvon,
Yeah.
were you there when I was there
Yes.
on Arvon?
Because you're done. You're like, I got stuff to do. Someone was going to pick you up, give you a ride.
Yeah. So Michelle and there's a kid up there with her. Wyatt, I think, was with her. So they were going to get out. They had a ride coming to get them. And the shift for me during that day was, all right, we got like, I don't know, 90 or 100 people that had signed up for the Crusher, or not the Crusher, for HAMR that year. But only like 23 or 24 of them were doing the Sledgehammer, the long route. So as we were riding through the driving rain in 50-ish degrees, you know, I had this epiphany, like, it's the only time I've ever ridden in one of our events that day. And I'm having an epiphany, like, these poor bastards are going to end up, they're riding through the night. They have no idea what they're in for, most of them. None of them have ever done this. The weather is really bad. There's a possibility of hypothermia. There's nobody out there to save them. They really don't understand the gravity of the situation. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying there's definitely people out there. They were not prepared. So when I got to Arvon, I'm like, I got to get the fuck off this bike and in a truck so we can start driving the course backwards through the night.
See,
That's what eventually brought us together on Northwestern Road in the middle of the night.
it's like 2:00 in the morning. I remember that. I mean, so at Mount Arvon, you're like, I'm out. I'm like, all right. Because you're like, I could tell you're like thinking through, like, something's going on.
Yeah, the weather was not good. I was concerned.
Yeah. And it stopped raining. That was like one of the only times it stopped raining. So we went down the backside before they bulldozed it. And it was like, I'm riding down like streams of water. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. You know, drivetrains the whole time.
From there, you were headed to Lance.
To Lance, yeah. So I'm heading to Lance, and it stopped raining for like an hour, and I'm riding like this gradual downhill, and I'm falling asleep on the bike. And this is like, what, 2:00 in the afternoon? And I'm like, because we've been hammering, I mean, up since 4 a.m.
Yep.
So I got up, there's like, and I remember there was this, you ride off this nice 2-track, and it's like this, I don't know, crappy road up to this grassy section. And I ride up to it, and I'm like, I'm taking a nap. So I pull my helmet off, I lay in this nice grassy section, I lay down, and I took like a 40-minute nap. Felt great. But I woke up, and I remember there's a kid with curly red hair riding like a surly. It's like, dude, are you all right?
Is that Jacob?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because he was flying. We'd back and forth.
Yeah, I think that was Jacob.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm fine. He's like, takes off. So I get into Lance, and I'm cruising down the pavement, and David Kate passes me. I didn't
This
know
is
who it was.
this is where David Kate enters into 906 lore.
Yeah, this is the.
I mean, he was in Margie prior to this, but
And he goes flying by me like we're doing like Port of Shore or something. He's like, "Come on, let's go!" And I'm like, "Dude, we have like another 90 miles to go. Who
are you?
Who are you?" So he blows by me. I get to Subway. I'm like, I want a Subway sandwich, and I'm kind of feeling like,
Who'd you see in Lance? Anybody besides Jacob and Kate blowing by you?
I saw Jacob before Lance.
Okay.
Kate blowing by me. And that was it. There was no one else.
So you didn't? Did you go to Holiday?
I went to Subway. Well, I go to Subway and I'm like, I'm not really hungry. I'm trying to work it out. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, I got to get back now because we went to the northern section back. Mm-hmm. And I was not feeling well and had like the 50-mile doldrums that I call them, the demons, And I'm trying to eat. And at the Holiday Station, you got the Holiday Station and Subway, and they're kind of connected with a corridor,
Yeah.
I get up because I'm like, I'm throwing up. And I walk back through that hallway and I don't make it to the bathroom. And I throw up all over in the back part.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, this is great. I wasn't upset I was throwing up. I was upset because I just made a mess in the common area between Holiday. So I'm like, I look over and there's a mop bucket. I'm cleaning up my mess and stuff because that's just how I was raised. Mm-hmm. Clean up your stuff. Mm-hmm. Don't, go in, finish in the bathroom, doing what I'm doing, put some chamois butter on, and back out. I just fold my sandwich up, throw it in my back pocket, and I'm like, here we go. Just got to figure it out because no one's going to rescue me.
Do you remember Brian Dew being in the event that year?
Remember his name? I don't remember.
I can't remember right now if he finished or not, but the thing I remember about him from HAMR is he had a Holiday gas station pizza that kicked his ass for hours after he ate it. That's a funny little subplot to the 2018 HAMR that people might not have heard of.
After Subway, I remember stuffing that sandwich in my back pocket, going to Subway and getting some water, Gatorade, and all that because I don't eat any of that Racer Boy food or drink that Racer Boy stuff. Just not. It's not what I do anymore. But yeah, I take off, and I remember a couple other dudes were in front of me, and they were at that bar outside of Lance when you're going along the lake shore or along the bay.
The Finns?
Yeah. He lives over by Lake Ann near me. Now I can't remember his name. Single speed. He comes running out of the bar. He's like, "Hey, Chad, come and have a beer and burger." I'm like, "No."
Is that Barry?
Barry, yeah.
Barry
Jones.
Yeah, Barry Jones.
Yeah. I'm like, "No, I got to go. I just need to stay on the bike." And he's like, "Oh, you're not going to make the cutoff. We're not going to make it. Let's just have a beer and stuff." And I'm just kind of pedaling away.
I think he was there with Mike Sauer.
Yeah. They were wearing like plaid shirts. I remember that.
Yeah.
Or flannel shirts.
I want to say they ended up rallying and finishing.
Yeah, they finished a couple minutes after me. Right under the cutoff. They were like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, you guys, you got your hammer."
The hammer.
And I remember it was a great experience. I loved it. I'm like, this is what I do. Pedal all day, all night.
Yeah.
Suffer
through the backcountry.
Yeah. And I, during that whole northern section, I think is it Bruce's Crossing up there? No,
that's too far west.
Yeah. But there's like a campground. I remember riding the dirt road. And
Big Eric's,
yeah. Yeah, I remember riding that. But I stopped at a party store up there on the pavement. And I'm in there. I'm like, I need like pop. And I got a Pepsi. And the guy that was running the store, he's watching me down each aisle. And I'm like, all right, we're going to play some mind games. So I'd go back and forth. And the store is it's like the size of this room. And he's like, I'm just watching you guys. A lot of you been in here. I don't know about you. I'm like, you don't need to worry about us. We're just a bunch of idiots.
Can you hand me the coffee? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Chad. Ryan Craig, I don't know if you know him. he was from Marquette. Well, he was living in Marquette at the time. He was out there with us. His story is he ended up having a text crushed. People found him sleeping in a piece of logging equipment.
Yeah.
He was freezing his ass off. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember, yeah. He
was a coach. He was a 906 coach. Worked with the kids.
I remember seeing him. Yeah.
So you saw him sleeping?
Sleeping in it. I'm like, what are you doing? I need to sleep. And he's like all settled in. I'm like, sleep is not your friend.
Well, he was freezing his ass off. He didn't have the right. I don't think he had the right equipment.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a reminder for everybody when you do the crusher. You
don't know.
We call it recommended gear.
Right.
And the only reason we call it recommended gear
is so you survive.
Yeah, so you survive. But it's not called required because I'm not your mom.
Right.
And I'm not going to make sure that you go out there prepared.
Right. There's people that are like that. They don't know.
Absolutely. And well, I will tell you because in 2019 we did required gear check. Mm-hmm. What a shit show.
It was.
We give you the list. Everybody knows what you're supposed to show up with.
Uh-huh.
Nobody shows up with, I mean, not nobody. People did show up prepared, but I'll bet half of them unprepared. Drives my wife crazy, by the way.
She gear checked me in at 19 when it was point to point. I just opened up my box and she's like,
I don't understand if you're told that you have a required gear check, why it is so hard for grown adults to just show up with what we tell you got to have.
I don't know.
I don't understand.
I tried to figure that out. Grown adults.
I do not understand.
You tell me what I need. I'm a list guy, a planner.
Yep.
All right, I need 2 tubes. I need a pump, snorkel, emergency blanket, or bivy. I'm going to have it. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get on my bike. I'm going to have it. Not because I need it for the race, but I might need it to survive because you don't know.
And that's not like fear-mongering.
No.
That's not marketing.
No.
It's the real deal.
It's experience.
Yeah. Well, you listen to Angie and Tammy, right? Their podcast?
I did.
Their 2020 Crusher experience?
Yeah.
They had the emergency blankets.
Couple needed it.
Paul and Adam didn't. Not cool. Not cool.
So in the 19 Crusher, I ended up riding with George Ernst. He's doing the Marji 100 this year. You're doing it. You're finishing it.
Shout out to George.
Yeah. Him and I, after Lance, we took an extended break. This is 19 Crusher, point to point, Copper Harbor, back to Lance, or back to Marquette the long way, down Mosquito, and Freda and all that bull crap.
Oh, yeah. You went out to the smokestacks, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's right. That's the furthest west I think we had taken it at that time.
Some guys I was riding with, when you come up into the approach to Lance, they're like, why do we have to go this far? I go, because it's Todd. It'd be too easy if we just spun down the Keweenaw and then went to Lance Arvon. I mean, come on, 225 miles. They're like, well, it's not really. I said, oh, yeah, it's like 236 or something.
Was 2019, was that the Crusher that Matt Graves crashed and broke his back? God, I'm gonna have to fact check that. Do you know Matt?
No.
He's from downstate. I am almost certain. So I know for sure Matt Graves during one of the Crushers, he crashed early. First 30 miles, we'll say. Broke his back. Got on his bike and finished the long Crusher.
Respect.
I'm 90% sure it was 2019. If it wasn't that one, it was 2021.
Yeah.
You were up with us in 21.
I was, yeah.
For the point to point.
Yeah, we pulled somebody out.
You pulled somebody, but it wasn't Matt. So it has to be 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pulled somebody off the course.
Yeah.
Barely out of Copper Harbor. It crashed, I think, on the snowmobile trail. Right?
Right.
Yeah, I remember. Speaking of that one, didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we leave Copper. It was a skeleton crew because we were still in like COVID shit. So it's me, Mark, Billy, and Stacy. That was literally the entire race organization on the point to point that year. So we leave Copper. I find out that he's extracting somebody and bringing him to the hospital. Stacy and I go into Calumet. We sit down at some coffee shop, and I pull up my laptop to see where everybody's at on track leaders. I guess track leaders are going to go into the bus here for a minute. Not a single fucking beacon is working. I've got a blank map.
Yeah.
So I got people going to the hospital. I got a blank map. I don't know where anybody is, and I'm like, fuck.
Well, what are we going to do? Did you adapt? Did you figure it out?
We fucking rolled with the punches.
There you go.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember we just happened to be rolling down the road headed out of Copper Harbor, and I see a bike on the side of the road and blinky on, and I'm like, this doesn't seem right. You know, something's going on. And there just happened to be a parking lot across the road, and I see a Jeep and another vehicle, and you know, get the down low that somebody's back a ways.
Yeah.
And they need help getting out. So I'm like, I got a 4x4. Let's get back there and see what's going on. And this guy is shaking. I mean, shaking. And I think he spent the night in the hospital, if I remember.
Did you tell him to get back on the bike? Let's go.
Yeah, I don't
No.
I don't know if he was quite. I didn't know if he knew he'd just get himself into. I know his partner, the bike that I saw on the side of the trail. He seemed to be leading that crew, but I don't think this guy knew exactly what he was getting himself into.
Right.
He wouldn't be the first one to do one of our events and not fully understand what they were getting into.
So I think it was Sledgehammer. I raced my 2.9 plus hardtail frame bag because you got to carry all that crap. Mm-hmm. And this dude came up and he says, do you need all that stuff? What? And I could tell, yeah, you had no idea.
So you're on a mountain bike that year?
You always do
Yeah.
crusher on a mountain bike.
So you have not done it on a bike with gravel geometry?
Never.
You know, what's interesting is when, well, you listened to it, so you probably heard this. When TNA was in here on Friday, they're touting the gravel geometry, which those bikes are great bikes. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. But I wonder if they spent, let's say, a spring and a summer on a bike set up, mountain bike geometry, but with drop bars, so, you know, set up like gravel. I wonder how they'd feel after a season on a bike with different geometry.
I don't know.
I think that they'd like it. I don't think they'd go back to the gravel bike.
Right. So now, being that I've done a few crushers and stuff, I get once in a while, hey, I'm going to do crusher on my gravel bike. I said, no, you're not. Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it's an experience.
And it can be done, right? People have done it on a gravel bike.
Yeah, it can be done.
It can be done.
How do they feel after? Because it's about comfort.
Absolutely.
Which after the first 50 miles maybe goes away. But I found that, I mean, when you put out the Sledgehammer, you're like, it's enhanced gravel. I'm like, what the? I didn't have it.
What is that?
Yeah. So being that I've ridden through the Huron Mountains, all that area, I knew like it's got to be a mountain bike, front suspension, all that. And for Sledgehammer, so the girls, the TNA girls, were talking about their bike daddy. My bike daddy is Scott Quering. Mm-hmm. I have several custom bikes from him. Mm-hmm.
Scott has done our events many times.
Oh, yeah.
Christina has done our events many times.
Great couple.
Yep, great folks.
Love to suffer. Great to ride with.
Is he back on the bike?
He is back on the bike.
Good.
He did his first race in like 2 years, Barry-Roubaix.
Yeah, awesome. Because it was a knee, right?
His knees, yeah. His knees are, he says they're old.
Yeah. Well, we're not young.
No. We're still chasing our youth.
Hey, enhanced gravel. How do you define it, Mark?
Leave your gravel bike at home.
I don't.
Like if somebody asks you, what is this enhanced gravel stuff? What would you tell them?
Yeah, it's everything from a grain of sand to bouldery rocks. I mean, it's everything. You know,
it's everything. I mean, it encompasses all.
Yeah.
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 I love it because, you know, typically enhanced suggests a superior, improved product.
Oh, it is.
Well,
I mean, in my mind, our idea of enhanced gravel is a superior product.
it is. Anyone can do a gravel race, but can anyone do an enhanced gravel race? I mean, I do Barry every year. You know, my buddy and I race tandem. It's our thing. We do the spring classics on the tandem.
Yep. Awesome event, too.
Yeah, and we burn through Barry in like an hour and 45 minutes, Dirty 30, an hour and a half.
Yep.
And this year, my buddy and I we did Dirty 30. We won the tandem class. We had some pretty good competition, but we're hitting like gravel at 26 miles an hour on the flats.
Yeah. How many times have you gone 26 miles an hour at Crusher?
I don't even think on the downhills I've gone 26 miles an hour. So it doesn't exist. Maybe 6 miles an hour tops, average.
I think my top speed, it wasn't Crusher, but it was a Crusher-esque. Top speed ever on a bike was my loaded Fargo was 53 miles an hour down up in the Keweenaw.
That was adventurous.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Going down Gratiot Lake Road.
Right.
Yeah.
That dude on the mountain bike, remember?
Yeah, I do.
I'll tell you what, when we were going down that climb on our bikes that day, I thought that my bike was going to just like come undone. The whole thing was shaking because we were over 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, 53, I think. Yeah.
So when we race tandem, Dave, my tandem partner, he's like, don't ever tell me how fast we're going. 'Cause I like to go fast.
Yeah.
On a tandem,
And he doesn't?
well, he has no choice.
Well, I was going to say it's an interesting choice of
Yeah.
a partner if you'd like to go fast and he doesn't.
Well, he has no other choice. So he picked me as his tandem partner years ago because he said I'm one of the best bike handlers in northern Lower Michigan. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And our first Barry, we were hitting like 40 miles per hour on some of the gravel downhills. And I said, Dave, we're doing 41. He goes, don't tell me how fast we're going. Okay. You know, and so at Dirty 30, you'd hit this downhill. First year we did it, we hit 47 miles an hour on this gravel downhill. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't know. I love going fast. And when you're 425 pounds, combined weight, bike, two people, you're going to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Has he done any of the 906 events?
No. Dave Buchholz will not. I think he knows his limits, which is fine. It's fine.
Why couldn't he do Crusher? Does he not ride a fat bike in the winter?
Yeah, he does.
So he could do Polaroid.
He can do any of them. He just doesn't want to, which is fine.
Interesting.
I don't pressure him.
Write that name down. We'll have to reach out to him.
Yeah. So the next year we came back, and I'm like, I want to go faster than 47 on that section. So we hit 50. And we're passing some of the elite riders that come in and merge in from the 62 or the 60 miler, and we're like, on your left, and they're like, what? And you come down into a hard right-hander on the pavement. It's not a big deal. This year I could only hit 47 because I wanted to hit 51, 52. We only hit 47 because we're in a big group of riders, a lot of athletic mentor riders, and I'm like, all right, we hit 47 miles per hour because we had to stay out on the outside where there's chatter bumps. But anyways.
Do you remember what your bike weighed during Adventurous?
It was plus 65. Yeah. Ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I was
crazy.
I was over 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't think that included water because I weighed it before we left, and I did not have a load of water, so I was probably pushing 85. Easy.
My Polaroid Ultra setup this year was 52 pounds. And that's a metal bike, aluminum. That's all the required gear, too.
Yeah, that's wild.
That is.
Back to
Sledgehammer?
back to Hammer for a sec. Do you remember what was the cutoff that year?
24 hours.
Okay, and how far under the cutoff did you finish?
I finished 23 hours, 11 minutes.
Okay. Do you remember Dave Cate?
Do I remember him? Yes.
Do you remember his finish, what he did.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to hear that? I witnessed that whole thing. So after seeing you back to Northwestern Road, where you're like, racer support, because you were going backwards, you're like figuring out, crap.
Yeah, we rode all the way back to Lance to make sure everybody was clear of Lance.
So I'm riding, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's light rain. And I'm like, I didn't have my jacket on. Because,
and keep in mind, the finish time then on a 24-hour was 5 a.m., right?
Yeah.
You had to be done by 5 a.m. Sunday.
It'd be done by 5 a.m. And I see you, and you're like, racer sport, bananas, Cliff Bars, alcohol, whatever.
We had it all.
I said, I want a banana. And you're like, okay. And you took a picture, and there's a picture of me standing there, and it looks like it's middle of the day because you had this like super flash on.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
I think I got it here.
And you asked me, you asked me, are you going to make it? I said, yeah, I'm going to make it. He's like, well, you got 40 miles to go. It's the easiest 40 miles. And I'm like, I've studied the course. I know it's not, because you had us going through like this ORV trail with all these limbs and branches and stuff. And it was like a stream for some checkpoint. And then you had, Chunky
Summit.
Chunky Summit, which we were trying to find. It was, yeah. Anyways, so
are you with Dave at this point?
No.
Or where is he coming to it?
After chatting with you, I took off, and I ride a couple minutes, and there's this dude in the middle of the road. And all I remember, he had like everything in the kitchen sink in his Osprey pack. And I'm like, holy cow, what? And I'm like, you all right? Yeah, I'm just looking for my contacts. And I'm like, well, I'm riding. Every man for himself. Sorry, dude. You're fine. And I take off, and like 20 minutes later, he catches up. Yeah, that's the one. Give me a banana. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
And he catches up, and he's like, how many more miles do we have? And I'm like, well, Todd said 40. And he said they're the easiest 40, but they're not. And he's like, all right, well, can I ride with you? And it was 2018. So that was before Marji.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like riding with people. I've spent 30 plus years riding by myself. And I welcome it. I don't mind. I got buddies I ride with now.
Yeah.
But it's, every man for himself. And I'm like, every person, for themselves.
Every person.
Yes. And so I got this dude riding with me, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is the guy that was like road riding fast into Lance. Like, we start talking. He goes, so my name's Dave. I'm like, I'm Chad. He's, where are you from? Traverse City. Because I say Williamsburg. People are like, Williamston? Downstate.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit. I'm like, no. Oh, I'm from Traverse. I live in Timber Ridge. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It was the worst 40 miles. Socially.
Shout out to Dave. Worst 40 miles.
Marji Elf, I love you. And it just, I think we had like 3 checkpoints left, and I'm like zeroed in, like checkpoints, 24 hours. It's raining. I got, I've conquered to this point. Now I got this guy hanging on. And so this dude is just fumbling around, and his light goes out, and he said, hey, can you stop? I'm like, no. Well, I said, do you have an extra light? And he's like digging in his pack, and I'm like, what do you got in your pack? Well, I got everything we need. And it's like bulging off it's like I'm going out here for like a 10-day bike packing trip.
He was ready.
He wasn't. I said, well, put your extra light on, because I brought like 3 extra lights, because I'm not going to be caught out there. Well, I lost my other light. And I'm like, so I'm standing in the middle of the road. I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Do you got a battery backup? Yeah. I said, plug your light in that battery backup, put it in your top tube bag, and charge it, and get in front of me. So I'm pissed. Because I'm like looking at it, and I do all the timing in my head. I don't have little things on my stem and all that. And I'm just calculating 40 miles, this, that, and I got this checkpoint and this checkpoint. And meanwhile, Jenny Acker and Lisa Thompson are
in the mix.
Yep. She's all, shout out to Jenny Acker. Love you too. And I'm like, not that it's women that are going to beat me. It's just like, I want to get this done. I want this hammer. If I can't get a belt buckle, I want this hammer. Because you back up to the day before. You're like, hey, here's all the hammers. You want to look at them? I'm like, no, I don't want to look at them. I don't want to touch them. I have this thing about I've never touched a belt buckle. I've seen them. I've seen one of Scott's and Acker's and Roy.
Scott's got a couple, right?
Yeah, he's got like 3 of them.
Roy has one. Sorry, Roy.
No, he's got a couple.
I'm talking about on the bike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got duathlon.
It's got to be 100 miles.
He keeps saying that the race is longer than 100 miles. His wheel sensor's broke.
Yeah. He's not doing the math.
So where'd you and Kate separate? Because if you finished at 23 hours and 11?
Yeah. So we're riding along. We're doing the checkpoints. We meet. Matt finished like 10 hours before us, and he's out there supporting Jenny. And we get to a checkpoint that's like at the bottom of 310 and 510. And I go down, do the selfie checkpoint, and I'm riding up the embankment. And I'm like, where's this Dave guy? I'm like, get up here. He's down there talking. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, let's go. All right. Anyways, he charges his light. He's in front of me, and the guy falls in every mud puddle out there. And I'm like, what? I'm like raging. I mean, in my way, you know me, I'm pretty calm.
Sounds like they're having a great time.
Yeah. We're like a couple that hangs out together, even though we're divorced. Yeah, anyways, so we're riding along. We get through all of our checkpoints and all that. We try to find Chunky Summit. We find that. We're fumbling around. I'm looking at my E-Trex, Garmin E-Trex, figuring that out. And I'm like, all right, get all the checkpoints. And I tell Dave, I said, we're coming up. Don't forget, we got to make a right-hander on the driveway up to Forestville. And don't forget that the stop sign looks like it's facing us. That's something I noted when we were up there. And this guy takes off. David takes off. And I'm like...
So you're at the turn to go to the finish.
We're like, I think 5 or 6 miles.
Okay.
We just get on to Forestville. And it's pouring rain. And he takes off. I'm like, God, get out of here. I'm like, tired of you. Really, I was like, I'm going to beat him up. Anyways. So,
Did you seek therapy for this ride afterward?
No. Anyway, so I turn up Forest, the driveway. I get checked in, and I like, you're there, and I'm blitzed. I think I was more blitzed because I was ticked off at this David Kate guy. And I'm like, oh, I'm under 24. Yes. All I want to do is sit down. So you had the tent up there, and I think, Cindy was there.
Yeah.
Cindy
Kress. Yep.
And she kept asking me, where's David? I'm like, I don't know. He was ahead of me. Well, you can't find him. And we're, you don't get any cell coverage.
Right.
And you're like, where's David? I'm like, look, I don't know, and I don't care. I told him to take a right-hander at the stop sign that looks like it's facing us. And you're like, I got to find him. Well, he went all the way back down to the dam.
Yep.
Because he was following his GPS route
track
from earlier in the morning.
Yep.
And they're like, well, he's got to get up here. I'm like, I don't care. I sat down in some old lawn chair and I broke it, like the straps on it. Mm-hmm. There's that picture of you and I got the hammer. I'm like, I'm just blitzed. And that was like, you were clean shaven.
Yep.
Looked presentable.
Yep. But that was a hot minute ago.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, here comes Dave. Oh, I took a wrong turn. I'm like, I don't care. I just want him to get away from me. Just get away from me. And then Barry came in with his buddy. They're like, oh, like you guys came in under 24. And he was like, oh, we thought we weren't even going to make it. And we laugh about that, like Polar Roll Ultra and all that. So Dave, that's my experience with Dave Cade.
Dave made it like 15 minutes in front of cutoff.
Yeah.
after he did that little bonus ride down to the. Actually, he was basically just starting the race over again.
Right. It was Sledgehammer, the 2-lap affair. Let's do 2 laps.
Oh, man.
So that was 190 miles, 23 hours, 11 minutes, like a 40-minute nap, throwing up in Lance, some, riding the pavement out of Lance with no rain, which felt great. Party store attendant watching me. Oh, and when I got up to Eric's, I had this like Ford Escape like blow by me on the 2-track or on the dirt road. Well, the girl was in a hurry because there's a porta-john. I get to the porta-john and her friend, her male companion, were having a good time in the Ford Escape.
Oh, great.
I was like,
Good for them.
And anyways, I don't care. At that point, I didn't care. I'm like, I don't care anyways. You can do whatever. But yeah, anyways, I just remember that. A lot of shenanigans.
Do you recall that, I can't remember their name now, but a man and a woman finished after cutoff that year, I think around 11 in the morning.
Cool.
Yeah, they finished late. They actually were the reason that we ended up having to go all the way into Lance because we could see that they were off course with the beacons. We had beacons that year.
No, yeah. I had my spot tracker.
Yeah. Yeah, that
You're
picture of you has your spot tracker.
You have if you have a form of, that was back in the early days. If you have a form of tracking, bring it. I'm like, all right.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, I had to go find them because they were not on course. And I had to figure out why they were not on course. Eventually, they got back on course, and they continued to go, and they did finish.
Yeah.
11 in the morning.
So
like 6 hours after cutoff.
Wow. So that Sledgehammer we were talking earlier, kind of a defining moment, growth opportunity. Because one, it cured me of rainy disease. No one wants to ride in the rain. And now I'm like, oh, it's raining. Here's, there's, within reason, thunderstorms, lightning, maybe not, but still, so rainy disease curing, preparing, it validated how prepared I am. I can ride 200 plus miles in a 36-hour period. And then I'm like, this is my jam. Like you said, Owen Marji, you're like, this is my jam. Chad, this is your jam. Do it. So
what was your first, let's go to Marji. What was your first year at Marji?
First year was 2016.
So I want to set it up. I believe pre-Marji in 2016, you'd never not completed a race.
A Marji? No.
A race in general. Had you not quit a race before?
Okay. Up to that point, I had only quit 2 races in my career. And it was back 1994. So to lay it out, I got into mountain biking in 1988. It was about a year after my dad passed away. So I was like team sports. Our thing was baseball.
Yep.
Tigers. I can name every Detroit Tiger player in the 84 World Series team, their stats, what position and all that. That was our jam. Tiger games a couple times a year. That's all we did. Lived and breathed.
84 Tigers.
84 Tigers.
Good team.
The roar of 84.
That's right.
Yeah. And so that was what we did, And even I have 2 younger brothers, so they weren't quite into it, but that's how my dad and I connected through baseball. Plus, my dad was a Detroit Tigers fan. He was like Tiger fan appreciation guy for the day. Got to spend the time at Tiger Stadium. That's what we did. And then 87, he passed away from a battle with cancer, and that was a significant event in my life.
Sure. How old were you?
I was 12. Yeah. So at that point, we're like, I need my dad. Love you, Mom, but it's all about Dad and I,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And people ask like, oh, if there was, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, that, whether good or bad, that defined me. I remember telling my mom like a year after, don't worry about me, Mom. I got it. Just worry about my younger brothers. Take care of them. And that made me pretty independent, fiercely independent, sometimes to a fault, like my mom would be like, hey, your brothers need to help you. No, I don't. I got it. Brothers need to help you. Nope, got it. Shoveling the driveway, mowing the lawn, just doing all that stuff that my dad would have to do.
Yeah.
I was doing it. And my kids, I had 3 boys myself, and I'd make them shovel the driveway, and I'd be like, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. Oh, come on, you guys. But I've learned that independence, I've learned to temper that down, because probably 10 years ago, my wife was like, I'm here. I'm your helper. You don't need to do everything on your own. And that kind of was like, oh, yeah, that's true. So kind of let go. I mean, I'm still independent.
Mm-hmm.
There's, in a marriage relationship, you can depend on each other, but there is a little bit of independence. But it's been, it was another defining moment in my life. Mm-hmm. My dad.
Yeah, I can only imagine. How'd your brothers handle it?
They did pretty good. No issues, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard. I know my middle brother and I did not have the best relationship, because he was like, you had dad for 12 years. I had him for 10. He's bigger than me. So he's like 6'7", about 50 more pounds than me. So we fought quite a bit, physically, mentally, played the mind game and all that. Now
Oh, that's just brother stuff.
Yeah. Little brother, he got into cycling too. He's actually more of a gifted athlete. I'm not. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm 6'5" and 200 pounds. Do stuff on sheer determination. Mm-hmm. I mean, I train and stuff, but yeah, so the cycling part, back to that, my mom was worried because I lost all interest in team sports. No baseball, care less. Dad's not here, care less. There was 2 years where I felt sorry for myself. And back then we didn't have any like 906 adventure team. Didn't have any of that. My mom was trying to figure it out. She actually sent my brothers and I, the hospital provided this therapy for kids, but it was divorce care. That didn't go well, because I was already like, we're not going. She's like, you're going. I'm not going. You're going. Because my mom is at the time, she's 6 foot. You didn't mess around.
Yeah.
So we went, and my little brothers are huddled around me, and they're sitting in this little circle, and the kids are sitting there complaining about, oh, I got to spend the weekend with my dad, and blah, 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 and my mom this. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. You got both parents. I don't have a dad, so they get to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, you know what? I said, you guys are a bunch of idiots. You have your parents, and you're complaining that you have to spend time with them one week and the other week. How about not having a dad? I don't have a dad. And my parents loved each other, and they're like, okay, all right. And the therapist is like, okay, everyone, let's just break up. And she was like, oh my gosh, who was this kid? So they're like, let's go draw pictures and blah, blah,
Well, there is a perspective there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember my mom came in, pick us up. It's like an hour thing, 2 hour thing. And she's trying. I'm not going to falter with that. So I got 3 boys that need their dad. They don't have their dad. Traumatic experience. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? So let's send them to this group therapy. So I remember I'm sitting there like, this is bull crap, not acting out, because I think that was my mom's worry, is like, we're going to be rebellious and go to jail, we're going to act out. But my mom and dad did a good job of putting that foundation into us. Mm-hmm. Like, you act up, kick your ass. Not,
it's old school.
Yeah, it was old school. Mm-hmm. And so my mom came in, I saw the counselor talking to her, and I'm like, yeah, we get in the car. She's like, so how'd it go? I said, Mom, they're a bunch of idiots. They have their parents. We don't have dad. It's not a good fit. Mm-hmm. You're going again next week. No, we're not. It was careful battle, because my mom would kick our butt. But at the same time, she's like, how do I wade through this traumatic experience, no dad, and she did a good job. I mean, there was a little bit of browbeating, like, I'm your only parent. Don't screw this up. but at the same time, there's worry, like, what's going to happen?
Did she let you guys feel sorry for yourselves?
No, I did for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I don't have a dad. Oh.
How'd she handle that?
She was old school. She's like, figure it out. You're not going to do this. Yeah, it sucks. You don't have a dad. I don't have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? But we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. We're not going to look for handouts. We're just going to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember she sat us. I've had this conversation with my boys. You probably had it about drugs, alcohol, sex, all that crap. My mom sat us down and she's like, you do any of that stuff, it's not that stuff that's going to kill you. I'll kill you. We're like, fair enough. So my brothers and I grew up. I mean, you got to go back. Like my dad had seven brothers, 4 sisters, Dutch immigrant family, Cadillac area. A lot of drinking. I have a couple uncles that were alcoholics who are recovering alcoholics. Dad liked to drink, but it wasn't abusive alcohol. He liked to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Never showed it. But my mom had a little bit of fear that we'd hit the bottle to cope. And what really was cool is we would go down every other weekend and my dad would party with his brothers at the cabin on the farm. And my brothers and I would see that and be like, that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's a bad investment. Buying all that alcohol and throwing it up. That's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of my dad's side of the family. That's the baggage, a lot of alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my cousins are recovering alcoholics now, but we never chose that because my mom and dad, even though my dad he liked to drink. He liked to drink. He wasn't alcoholic. Just like, he had a beer every night, party with his brothers. But we saw that and we're like, we don't want anything to do with that.
The reason I asked about your mom with how she, if she let you feel sorry for yourself or how she reacted to that was just broadly speaking, like bad things happen in life. We talk about this all the time,
Yeah.
Like I've kind of coined, the life isn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
The world isn't safe. There is no finish line.
Yep.
Yeah. Like just bad shit is going to happen. It is inevitable, and it's going to come down to your ability to weather the storm. And I just really truly think that kids, they learn to feel sorry for themselves from us.
Mm-hmm.
We teach people to feel sorry for themselves, and if you don't teach them to feel sorry for themselves, then they don't.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to be insensitive. Like
no.
I've had bad stuff happen to me. Everybody's had bad stuff happen to them. You got to figure out how to get through it.
Yeah. How do you deal with it? And that translates ever since that day. It's like, I don't go, oh, well, you didn't lose your dad. I don't do that. I just like, okay, I made it through that. It's a moment in time where you build some resiliency and you're like, all right. And maybe too, I don't know. Suffering at Crusher at Marji is insignificant to that event in 1987.
Sure.
I mean, they're two different things, but it's like, yeah, I'm suffering in, I like Pine Knob. I can't use that as an example. I like Pine Knob. It's my favorite part of the course. I don't know. I just, it's perspective, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's an event. I got through it. All else kind of pales in comparison. Even like, significant events at work.
Mm-hmm.
I work in the aerospace industry making parts. It is a difficult industry to work in because of high tolerances and the requirement to have high-end operators or, team members. And it's just, I don't know, like Crusher, Marji, Polar Roll, loss of my dad. It just equips me for that environment. I always think, I might get out of it, but I don't. It's like, okay, what do we have today?
Mm-hmm.
I walk at work, I walk 7 to 8 miles, 9 miles a day, engaging the team, running parts from here to here.
Just across the plant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So taking those experiences, loss of my dad, Crusher, Marji, it prepares you for everyday life.
Sure.
Because I'm like, oh, I need to get 6 parts out for this, and I got 4 other processes. Let's get it done. Mm-hmm. And it translates into my team. I'm developing a team. I have a production team and I have an operations team, and they're young.
Yeah.
And they're, it takes some time. But,
young and growing.
Yeah, but back to the introduction of mountain biking, one of my friends from the next neighborhood, I was working on my BMX bike, and he came over, and he's on this mountain ATB, all-terrain bicycle. I'm like, what is that? He goes, it's an ATB. It was a BCA Rocky 10, red, white, and blue. I'm like, whoa, what is that? And my mom saw that. She saw that little spark. Mm-hmm. She was like, I don't know, a couple days later, she had bought me a used Schwinn Mesa runner from McLean Cycle. She's like, I got you this. 2 sizes too small. And I'm like, whoa. That changed a lot. It became, my mom calls it therapy.
Yeah, I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I mean, it freedom machine, it allowed me to go farther beyond what the BMX bike could take me. Because the BMX bike was a neighborhood transportation tool. Hey, Mom, I'm going to see Todd in the next neighborhood. You ride your bike. Mm-hmm. You can drive. Yeah, you can walk, you can ride your bike. There was no, hey, I'll drive you over to, no. So, yeah, that mountain bike she bought me, I had that for 2 years. And that was significant too, because it gave me the ability to travel, check out the woods, take my thoughts off from the loss of my dad and whatever. And mechanically, working on my bike, I had no idea. I've always been mechanically inclined. And I still remember we took it in for a tune-up. My mom's like, $25? You're buying your own tools. You're going to learn how to fix your own bike. So that's
$25 to fix up the bike?
Yeah, for a tune-up. Back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, for a single mom, my mom and dad were set up financially. There was some struggle there, but it wasn't like, oh no, we can't afford to eat. It was never like that.
Yeah.
But it's just the struggles of not having a spouse for my mom, struggles of not having a dad, and I don't ever wish he was here. I don't play that game. Mm-hmm. I know my mom's working on, she still grieves him, obviously. I don't know what it's like because I didn't lose a spouse, but I always say to her, and she gets mad. I said, Mom, you can't ask why. Ask what? So, yeah. But anyways, so
it's hard either way.
Yeah, it is.
And you don't forget it.
No.
You don't let it go. You carry it with you.
Mm-hmm. So
is there any coffee left? Sorry.
No, that's okay. So that introduction to bikes, I got into at junior high, they had all these mountain bike magazines. So I started learning John Tomac, Ned Overend, Greg Herbold, all these guys that were. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Is that in your job description? No. All right.
Our job description is do what needs to get done.
It's fluid.
Yes, it's fluid. So you're getting into mountain biking.
Yeah. So
your kid.
So and then at the same time, I started. My mom actually drove by the grocery store. She's like, "You're getting a job." This was October of '89. So I was a carry-out bagger at one of the grocery stores. So I started seeing all these bikes, and I'm looking at my Mesa runner, and I'm like, time to upgrade. So I saved my money, bought a Specialized Rockhopper comp from Brick Wheels, put it on layaway, paid on it every week, $20. In the spring of 1990, I had a modern day mountain bike. It had three chain rings up front, 7-speed rear, no dinner plate size cassettes. I remember it was like a 46, 36, 26 up front for chain rings, and the back was 12, 28. It was awesome. I could go even farther on that. And that just started. I got into racing, raced my first Norba race as a beginner, raced my first Iceman, the first ever Iceman in 1990.
Mm-hmm. You've raced every one, right?
Yep, every one.
Yep.
Every Iceman. There's 3 of us left. There used to be 6, but I'm the youngest one. The rest of the guys, they're like in their 60s and 70s. So 35 years ago, these guys were in their 30s.
Yeah.
Now they're 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
It's
wild.
I'm going long. I'm riding the bus to the end on this one.
Yeah.
So that just progressed into, oh, wow, I want to do this as a pro. So I worked my way up, became a Norba pro. I still remember my Norba license, Pro Elite, Norba license number 8527. That was significant. Here I am, 6'5", 170 pounds, trying to race around the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
Mammoth
You're at a
Lakes.
disadvantage.
Yeah.
You're not 5'6" and 125.
Yeah. And I did really well in the local scene because I had a Michigan elite scene. Mm-hmm. I got to know Scott Quarian and I were little punks, beginner sport expert riders. I've known him forever. And, we tear up the local scene. I mean, I would try. I'd be like top 10, And at the same time, my grandfather, my mom's dad,
mm-hmm.
My mom was an only child, so it was cool. We didn't have to share. We didn't have to share grandparents. So we were really close with my grandparents. My grandpa, I think he loved mountain biking more than I did. He never rode a bike. He loved the social scene.
Mm. Well, he probably loved seeing you ride, too.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, you're out there spinning gears. You need to crank down, because when I was younger, I used to ride from Elma to Crystal Lake or some roller skating rink to go roller skating with Grandma on a single speed coaster bike. I'm like, well, Grandpa, things are different. But he loved the social aspect of it. He drove me when I was younger, he drove me all over the races in the state of Michigan. I still, cruising down his Buick or his Oldsmobile Tornado, just, bike, because you can put the whole bike in the trunk without tearing it down. And Iceman, he loved Iceman. That was he would jump out of the truck.
Let's talk about a social scene. Iceman is that.
Yeah, and he'd disappear. I'd get ready, do my thing, and I'd look at the start line, and he'd be like, make eye contact, because he'd talk to everyone. Mm-hmm. He loved it. But I remember in the early years, he'd do like water bottle hand-ups to me, smoking a cigarette. Like, Grandpa, you can't be smoking cigarettes. He'd be like, and I remember, this is back before beer was like sponsors of races. Mm. Beer was kind of like, you don't bring it to the races.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
It didn't go hand in hand.
This wasn't
a thing.
Because it wasn't accepted.
He'd bring his cooler, he'd bring a 6-pack of Milwaukee's Best, sit in his lawn chair, watch us race, sit there, awards, because awards would have to calculate everything, was by hand, awards be at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I still remember Brent Walk coming up to him and say, hey, Mr. Hansen, got to kind of put that beer away. And he's like, so.
Well, that's an interesting shift, really, if you think about it. Because now, could you imagine going to a bike race and not seeing alcohol?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's so ingrained in the culture. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. I can't even picture a bike race with no alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, you have teams that are sponsored by beer companies.
Yeah. Well, teams, races.
Yeah.
It's the most common sponsor.
Yeah. And I think, like Iceman, the celebration zone. I mean, Iceman's a different beast. It's a time trial in the woods, 30-mile time trial. And
it's an iconic event for Michigan.
Yeah, it is. It is. You've been there. Mm-hmm. I think you've done 1 or 2.
I've probably done 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a different scene. It's not Crusher, it's not Marji, it's not Polar Ultra, but it's different. But you go to the celebration zone, and like Bell's has like 5 or 6 beer stands, and they sell out of their beer
Yeah,
every year.
I know. It's wild.
So I go back to the first Iceman or the first races at, Pando or Canonsburg, and like, don't bring your beer. It's not what we do. Now it's like everyone's drunk. Yeah, the season's over at Iceman. They're drinking.
Big party in the woods.
And that's, I love Iceman. I always will. It's like kind of like my Christmas. I'm not, and I caught some flack. A few years ago because I said that I love the expo. I love the after race. I mean, the racing's just a formality. Well, I had some of my racer boyfriends. I can't believe you said that. Oh, Iceman racing. I'm like, look, I mean, I'll go out and race. I'll fake it. I mean, I finish in sub 2.5 hours. But I like the expo, seeing you there sometimes, seeing Scott, Christina, all them, and
Well, I imagine the guys that maybe took offense to it, it's probably because for them, it's like their personal Super Bowl.
yeah, and I
Right.
get that. I get that.
I get it too.
Yeah. And it's a pretty funny story. My mother-in-law, for a couple years there, Blue Cross Blue Shield, sponsored the race, or like a sub-sponsor. And she went to like man a booth or woman a booth at the expo. And she tells my wife, she's like, man, I was at the expo and that's all they do is talk about Chad. Where's Chad? Chad's going to be here. Chad's one of the 6, one of the 3. She didn't know that. She had no idea. She's like, I didn't know he was that popular. Whatever. I'm not, you know me, I'm not into that. Oh, hey, everyone. I'm here. I'm doing autographs in the back. Even though one year Steve Brown set that up for the 6 of us to do autographs, sign these posters.
Oh, yeah.
No one stopped by. They're like, what?
No, what happened to the posters? What'd Steve do with the posters? Have a
don't
big ass
know.
fire or what?
It was so my cousin Lars Welton, he's done like 33 of them. He would draw up like a map, a character stupid map, not even to scale, like showing all the different areas on the Iceman course. Well, Steve had like some printed out copies, and he's like, I got an idea. Let's have the 6 of you do at the 25th anniversary. I would booth set up because they got the pros there signing autographs.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it with you guys?
Great idea, Steve.
Not one, like people would walk by and like, what's going on over there? Yeah. Bunch of old dudes with a kid. Who's that? So
Steve's a good dude.
he is a good dude.
He was coming up for a few years there doing polar roll with us.
Yeah, he knew. He
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
He
Which
knows.
was cool, see him out there with the Iceman jersey doing it,
Yeah.
showing up for our event.
Yeah. He's always treated me well, and the guys, the 6 of us. The 25th anniversary, Carl Boy, another guy, part of the Michigan scene, he calls me up. He says, hey, I'm having a party Thursday night at my house. Okay, what's it about? Well, Steve wants you there. Okay, where do you live? I have no idea where he lived. Said, I live up by Center Ice, off from him, and blah, blah, blah. Be there. So I go there, and it's all 6 of us. Steve wanted to give us the jersey for his special custom wool jersey, Iceman jersey for doing 25 Iceman.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a little party. And here's the crazy part. That was the first time I ever met the 4 other dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
So you didn't know each other at all?
not really. I didn't know Pat Gwynn, Wally Dog, Ed Andrus, those guys. Because they're all old skiers, cross-country skiers. And I've never met him until that point. Now, Lars, he's my cousin. I've known him since the beginning of my race days because he lived in Travers, and we would travel down to races and do stuff. He was an expert racer. But yeah, so Iceman, it's special.
Yeah. Well, I think that obviously what Steve built there really helped solidify cycling within Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do people do in November? First weekend in November.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge, and we're all benefiting across the state from the work that he did with that event. There is absolutely no question.
Yeah, some more history there. After my mom saw that little sparkle in my eye, I guess, it just turned into this thing where I rode, did races, challenged myself, and I still remember. So I heard about this race or this ride from Kalkaska to Jellystone. Timber Ridge back in the day, it was Jellystone Campground.
Oh, was it?
I grew up down the road. It was like
Jellystone,
quarter mile from my house, and we would go there. And like, Mom, hey, go get me some milk, or go get some bread or something. You go to they had a little camp store. My buddy, my best friend down in another neighborhood.
Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
We would in the summer they had a pool. We'd go down there and we'd scope it out, and they do this little like stamp on your hand, and we'd figure out, okay, all right, they're doing Pink Pony or something. So we'd go back, and his sister had the same stamp stuff, and we'd stamp our wrist, and we'd like go in and swim in the pool every summer, every day.
Gaming the system.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was still a good kid, but there's some things you do, some shenanigans.
Yeah.
But anyways, I heard the guys were talking, and I was this kid that showed up at the dead end down by Timber Ridge, Tuesday and Thursday night rides. And then I showed up, I had my brand new Specialized, and I show up, and like Lars Walton, Mike Ray, all these guys are like, who are you? Bob McLean from McLean's was like, these guys ride on Tuesday and Thursday nights, 6:30. Go ride with them. And they're in their 30s. I'm like 15 years old. They're like, oh, okay. And they'd ride out to Sand Lakes, and I'd, ride with them, and like, oh my gosh, I've never been out this far, So they started talking about this new dude moved into town. He wants to put on this race from Kalkaska to Jellystone. I'm like, that's like 27 miles. It's huge.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. And that's the perspective. Like in the beginning, you're a kid and you're like, man, 10 miles. I was racing junior beginner, 10-mile races.
Yeah.
Addison Oaks, Northern National at Sugarloaf, Kandahar, Pando, and all that crap. And 10, 12 miles. Holy cow. But 27.1.
Was 10 or 12 long at that time?
For a beginner. For me, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You go from riding around the neighborhood, kind of exploring out in the woods, and you're like, oh, man, I'm done. Being a teenage boy, you're like, Mom, where's the food? I'm hungry,
Yeah.
But so there was talk about this little race, this Steve Brown guy wanted to put on, and I had to convince, because it was on Sunday. What do you do on Sunday? We go to church. Nothing else matters. Put your khakis on, your dress shirt, and you go to church. I'm like trying to convince my mom. Mom's like, you're not going. You got church. I'm like, Mom, I want to go. I want to do this. And my mom was, like I said, she's willing to allow me to challenge myself, but she's also at the same time, that's 27 miles. You can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. I don't know if that was motivation because it worked, because I'm like, I'm doing it. So I convinced her. I had to go to Wednesday night youth group. I hated youth group because my perspective was different after losing my dad. Junior high or like youth group, high school wasn't the real world. You're just there to, I mean, I'm not going to bag on, I mean, I'm a Christian. I believe youth group's important. Sunday's important. I attend church. I do all that. But I was like, school, not the real world. Just a popularity contest. You have the stoners, the preps, the nerds, and then guys like me are just like, this is dumb. Why do I got to learn freaking calculus? I'm not going to ever use it, So my mom, we compromised. You're going to youth group if you're going to do this race. And who's doing this thing? I'm like, it's all the guys from the dead end. This blah, 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 blah. All these people. All right, you're doing, okay. So who, 15 years old, dropped me off in Kalkaska with a bunch of these guys. One lady, rest for guys. She's like, don't call me. I'll see you later. And so Steve had it marked somewhat okay, like maybe every couple miles, looking for these little pink paper plate arrows. Yeah. So
was it actually an event the first year?
It was a $5 donation. I'll grab food, meet you at Jellystone, see you at the end. Good luck. It wasn't like, I think it was dubbed Iceman, but more like a ride.
Yeah.
You know?
The way I'd heard it described was like a group ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good description.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Then it turned into a thing.
Now it's a thing. Yeah. It's a thing. And so I laugh. I get people that are like, how much single track? I'll calculate out. Like last year was like 33%. Well, we're going to pass. How are we going to pass? Like, let's make it a mountain bike race. A couple of years ago, there was an epiphany because it would kind of started turning into a gravel race. You know, a little bit of single track thrown in. So you had guys doing it on gravel bikes. They were like under 2 hours and stuff.
Well, here, let me ask you a question on that.
Yeah.
Because I remember that that scuttle going on. When I was doing it regularly, it was like in the area of 2010 to 2016-ish, somewhere around there.
Oh, your racing years.
And it seemed like it was largely a 2-track or ski trail event.
Yeah.
With some bits of single track thrown in. But, you know, I mean, that's what I saw it as. So when they started referring to it as saying, you know, like, well, it was kind of becoming a gravel event, had it really changed, or was it just that people were figuring out they could show up and ride gravel bikes?
I think they're figuring out.
That's what I think.
It hadn't really changed.
Because it doesn't seem like it had.
No.
It seemed like it was what it had always been, and we were just taking different bikes to ride it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can... I can ride any bike out there. I can ride it. I've ridden... commuting home one time, I've ridden my road bike on the single track home with 28s. So you can ride any bike out there. But I think in the last couple of years, they were like, let's make it a mountain bike race. Let's add more single track. So Tom White, who I serve with on the Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association board, he's always doing the course design. Because Cherry Fest, I know, or Festival Foundation, it owns Iceman.
Yep.
They always have us do the course. So the last couple of years, Tom has added more and more single track.
Yeah.
And there's been more and more complaints. But you won't. So here's the deal. You won't hear that from the pure mountain bikers, like the pros, like Brian Motter, who I grew up riding with.
Right. Well, for them, it's probably a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love it. There's a ton of single track. There's strategy too, you know.
Yeah.
First 8 miles, you got to figure out, all right, I'm not riding with this dude because he's slow and I got to get to the single track. And then from there, it's a bunch of single track thrown in over the next like 20 miles. So
the thing that's always kind of, here's how I've looked at Iceman. Like, Iceman is an iconic event, and any event that would even attempt to try to be like Iceman, don't. Right? Figure out your own identity. Now, back in the day, right, 20 years ago, mountain biking was different. So I think that an event like Iceman was mountain biking.
yeah, it was.
We didn't have the trail infrastructure and the systems that we have today.
No.
So it was a legitimate mountain biking event. Mountain biking, or our definition of what mountain biking is, has changed and evolved over the 30 years that Iceman's existed. And the one thing I've always kind of scratched my head at is Iceman, when you put 6,000 people out there and you start throwing in single track, because you got a lot of people out there that don't know how to ride single track.
Yeah.
They can barely ride a bike.
Congo line.
Yeah. To me, is that really what you want people paying for? Open that son of a bitch up and let them rip. Let them rip. Like, just be the best Iceman you can be.
Right.
Don't try to compete with the other mountain bike events, because that's not what you are. It's not what you ever were.
Yeah. And I think with Iceman, you know, you have the wave selection and all that. And seat yourself to the wave.
The wave drama.
Oh my gosh.
I remember a couple of years ago. Was it 2-3 years ago?
Oh yeah.
When Cody was there,
Yeah.
and there was all sorts of drama over
Right.
waves. Holy shit!
So the wave thing goes back. It kind of relates to the preparedness for Crusher, Polar Roll, Marji.
Yeah.
Because you got to do some math. You got to be an adult. In, your top 5 races, take the 3 best, average, give us the time, and we'll seat you in the wave. Yep. It's drama.
There was a lot of drama over that.
So, but it's Iceman. Like you said, it's its own thing. It's iconic.
It is.
And I think, it's like when I line up at Order Shore. What's their wave thing? Signs at the start. Seat yourself accordingly. Are you going to finish
Right.
2.5 to 3, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, 3 hours.
I think about the only thing that you can get is a preferred start, right?
Yeah, you get preferred
You have to
start.
put in like a race resume for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So I see that, and that's like, what, 2,500 people?
Yeah.
Downtown
Something
Negani.
thereabouts. Yep.
And I'm like, it's simple as that. But, Iceman's 5,000 people, and
How did they get on the wave thing where they decided to start predetermining the waves? Do you remember?
I think it was, as they grew, it was like mass start. And as you grow, you're like, well, you got to figure it out. So I think, no, I'm assuming, and I try not to assume, I just think it was just a huge mass of people, and it was like, you got beginners that are lining up in the front row, and then you got, I think, yeah, it's just, we got to manage this. So let's do a wave system. And the other thing too is, how do we keep people at Timber Ridge? Let's start the pros as the last wave, 2:00
Right.
in the afternoon.
Right.
Brilliant move. 'Cause I like watching the pros.
Yeah.
We like to heckle.
Oh,
We got
everybody
ice
looks
break.
forward to it.
Yeah. Everyone's drunk and they're yelling. It's kind of like a mini Europe. Just fraction of the people, but still 4 deep, on icebreaker or wood chip hill or at the finish. But I think it was just, we have to manage this. How are we going to, new people, seasoned pros, expert sport, how do we do this? And I think it's just Steve introduced it saying, hey, we got to do it based on this.
Have you done the check 40?
Yes, I have done that twice.
They don't. They do it similar but different, right?
The year that I did it in 94, 95, lined up as a pro up front. I think it was basically, it's mass start. What,
It is mass
2,500
start.
people? If you're at the back, it's like 10 minutes later,
Yeah.
finally there.
But they do seed you somehow. You're numbered.
Yeah.
Like where you have to line up. They tell you where you have to line up
Yeah.
based on previous, or at least they used to.
I don't know. I haven't. The last one I did was in 2001, where it was like a couple weeks after 9/11, and they were trying to decide, should we do this or should we not?
Yeah, when we were racing and racing around 2010, 2016, we were doing like, we'd hit Order Shore, we'd hit the Check 40, we'd hit Iceman, Mud, Sweat, and Beers, we'd hit all those. And there was a similar timing system for the Check 40, except that you did still go out as a mass start. Huge group of people.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. If
awesome.
you're in the back, it was like, I'm going to start rolling in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the front, the pros
Gone.
take off, and then you're standing for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Waiting for it to move.
Right.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah. I've done two or three of those. First year I did it was completely mud fest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I've done it in the rain, but not where it was as bad as some of the Icemen have been.
Oh, yeah. It rained all day Friday. It rained up until like 3 a.m. in the morning. We lined up, and it was hotter than heck, too. Super humid. And I remember finishing, there's a picture of me at the finish, completely covered in mud. You couldn't even tell it was me. It was, again, it was like, oh, let's hope it doesn't rain. Hope it doesn't rain. It rained, not during the race though, and I'm completely covered. You couldn't even tell who I even raced for. Mm-hmm. Bike was all junk, But
I remember when Czech was doing their lottery.
Oh yeah,
this was up. I think it was up to until around 2014 ish.
Yeah.
I still to this day don't understand why they stopped doing the lottery.
Yeah.
It was impossible, or it's seemingly impossible to get into. Mm-hmm. You'd put in for the lottery and just hope for the best.
Yeah. That's what...
but then the lottery went away.
Yeah, I don't remember when it went away.
Yeah, it was around 2014. I don't know why it went away. Do you remember? Do you know anything about that?
Did it have something to do with Lifetime?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, it's possible.
So we do to skirt that. The first year, it was a bunch of us from Travers because you could mail in multiple people and you pick your envelope and then you're all in. That was one of the rules. If you
for the check?
Yeah.
Oh.
For the check 40. Yeah. So that's what I did my year 95 or 94. I can't remember. I know I raced pro, lined up behind like Brian Motter and all those guys. But we all got in. There was like 10 of us from Travers that went. Mm-hmm. And we got in. It was cool. Mm-hmm. And then I did it in 97. Lottery, just happened to get selected. And then 2001, I was living in Wisconsin at the time. That's another chapter in my life. But I got selected. Did that in 2001. Yeah.
It was interesting because the Czech was a lottery that was hard to get into. Right around the same time that Iceman, you literally would have to take the day off to register.
Right.
It always crashed. It was always a disaster.
Right.
But they both changed around the same time frame where Czech's not a lottery and that whole sellout around Iceman stopped.
Yeah.
Well, 14 was the infamous mud year.
What's the mud year? That was 25 years.
At Iceman.
Because I wore my commemorative jersey.
Right.
Because we were told to wear them.
Yep.
Or you can. And I get the thing all muddy. I haven't worn it since. I cleaned it. And it's put away. But yeah, it was Mud Fest. Mm-hmm. That was great. That was a great race.
Was it the next year that was it somehow tied to them raising the price?
I don't know.
After Mudfest? I'm trying to think back to what it was.
So people, what I like about Steve is before he's, when he owned it, he'd say, don't worry about it. I'll get you in. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go through the bull crap, take a day off and hopefully you get in.
Right.
But I've never done Iceman for free. I never expect that. Mm-hmm. And now there's all that's gone, which is fine. There's no preferential treatment or anything. I never asked for it.
Yeah. What do you mean it's gone? What's gone?
That with Steve leaving, now it's Festival Foundation.
Yeah.
There's no don't worry about it. But they changed that. So everyone that's done Iceman can register before they open it up to everyone else. So you can get in. You can get in. But the year that computers crashed was limited to 2,500 people. Mm-hmm. That's where the 5,000 came from. Because you're only allowed so many per DNR permit and all that.
Oh.
Oops.
Yeah.
Now there's 5,000.
I remember that. I forgot that happened.
Yeah, that was a debacle. Mm-hmm. I was kind of nervous because I was like, am I in? Am I out? I got to do it.
That's right. What year was that?
I don't know.
So, okay, now
blur.
Go back to the part where it changed, when when Steve sells it. I can see it happening because Steve is the one that has the relationships with you, with whoever, right? I think it's different when you shift from the founder, the guy who started it, or the woman who started it, either way. I think, especially in this scenario where it goes to the foundation, it's going to be a different deal. I'm not.
Yeah, there is. I've done the wave calculation. And I've in the past always been up in like wave 2, 3, 4. One year I calculated it out and I was like, they came back with the wave, and I was like wave 20 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, okay, wait a minute. I'm not slow, but I'm not fast. So another buddy of mine, his girlfriend's friend is part of the festival foundation. He's like, don't worry, we'll get it changed. And I'm like, all right, because he did his first Iceman a couple years ago, and he wanted me to race with him.
Yeah.
So I went from like this wave to that wave, but my secret's out.
From my perspective, I won't talk about Iceman because I don't know what they do. I can say what we do. I've always believed it's important because we've obviously grown through the years from where we started. Things are much different today than they were when we first started running events. But I've always believed that you can't forget who was there in the beginning before everybody else.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think of the treatment as preferential. What I think of it is as long as some of these people who were there in the beginning are continuing to show up with the same dedication that they did 10 years ago, when certain things happen, like they have a family emergency or a sickness or a death, and for some reason they can't, be online at the exact moment that they need to be there for the sellout in 3 minutes or whatever it is. Am I going to make sure that we take care of them? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't like that, tough shit.
Yeah.
I think that's literally how I feel about it.
I think you've done it a few times. Just saying.
Well,
because it's a relationship.
You can't forget the people who were there when nobody else was.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people show up now and they're part of the community, and that's fantastic. But they don't know what we went through to get here.
Yeah.
They don't know what it took to get here today. And you can't ever forget that. And that's the danger of going from Steve to a different entity.
And that's, I don't want to say that's happened because I still have connections. I know what to, who to talk to and stuff. But there is, Steve still weighs
He's still
heavy.
involved.
Oh, yeah. He was there, last year.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing well. He had some issues. Mm-hmm. They brought him a recliner, sat him in the, at the
Was he in the recliner?
It was.
I need a picture of that.
I'll find it. Yeah, he was there, him and his wife. And I love that guy because he saw something going on.
Yeah.
It's like, we need something in northern lower Michigan.
Yeah. Well, he definitely created it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's out there. He can't retire from it.
I don't know how he would.
No,
I don't know how he would.
You can't. It's like that dude that's worked at a job for 40 years. He kind of hangs around a little bit.
Whether he likes it or not, he is the Iceman.
He is the Iceman.
He is the Iceman.
Yeah.
And that would be important for other people to make sure they don't forget that.
Yeah.
Because as long as he's around, he's the Iceman.
Yeah. And I always look for him. I always, wherever he's at, Mr. Brown, Mr. Schut, always says my last name wrong. It's fine.
It's all right.
Yeah. I introduced them
Consistency.
I introduced them all, my new crew, over the last couple of years. And they get a kick out of that, know. And I don't know, like I said, Iceman, it's different than Marji, it's different than Crusher, different than Polar Roll. And that's fine. It's a different clientele.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they can cross over. They can overlap.
Well, yeah. I see a few people out there in Marji jerseys, Polar Roll jerseys, Crusher jerseys.
Absolutely.
It's like, when Tammy and Angie, they're like, you see those people, you're like, yeah, Crusher, Marji, blah, blah, blah. That's it. That's all you know.
They're different experiences. They just are. It's not, it doesn't have to be in either or.
Right. And so
it's not a competition.
Yeah. I had some people who are like, so you finished one Marji out of 7 and you finished 35 Iceman. I said, it's different.
Totally different.
I mean, I've done Iceman with the flu. I've done Iceman with broken wrist, broken foot, toe. I've broken my bike and still ran across the finish line. It's different though. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's different.
It's neither. Yeah, it's not a matter of easy or difficult.
Right.
It's the courses are so. It's different universes.
It is.
You know?
It is. I mean, and that's fine. After Marji, I spend from September through October finding my fast legs.
Yeah.
I'm not fast. I can make it. I can fake it, the facade.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the racing's a formality.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes go into it like, just going to go. All I got to do is finish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's different.
How, here's a question for you. So, Iceman brings thousands of people in the Traverse City, Kakana area. It brings a lot of people to the area from out of the state, from out of the area. I have to imagine that it's predominantly out-of-towners.
Yes.
If you were to run the zip code on it.
I have done that.
How do the locals react to that? Do they get angry that they can't get in to the race?
I think everyone that wants to do it can get in. I don't think there's probably a few that are like, I didn't get an Iceman, blah, blah, blah. I'll keep trying. I've never seen or heard, experienced any anger.
Okay. Well, I asked that because like with Marji, sometimes you'll get a local chatter from locals suggesting they can't get in. Locals can't get in. And first of all, that's bullshit.
You can get in.
If you want to get into Marji, you can get in.
I know someone.
I actually think that the people who end up suggesting that they can't get in, and it isn't that they can't get in, you got to open that up a little bit. I think that they feel entitled to get in when they want to get in. They want to be able to watch the weather, like a lot of other events.
Oh yeah.
And I know, to me, it's actually just a little bit of a level of arrogance, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Like they want preferential treatment because
I'm
they
local.
live here.
Let me in.
Right. They're oblivious to the fact that the event is about more than them. That it creates a very positive economic impact for the community, for the people, positive health impact for the community, for the people. And they're just self-absorbed. Anybody who's ever wanted to get in locally,
They get in.
if they get a hold of me, they get in.
I've done that.
They get in.
I didn't get in.
Plain and simple.
You've seen my
back over there.
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, I want to clarify because I want to make sure that this is very clear. If you ever hear a local person saying, blah, 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 I can't get in the Marji, it's bullshit that locals can't get in. You ask them, did you talk to Todd?
I've been
Did
there.
you ask Todd?
Yeah.
And the answer, if they say yes, they're lying. It's 100%.
And non-locals, I got some people that over the years are like, I didn't get in. I said, well, you didn't prepare for registration day.
Non-local, which event are we talking about?
Marji.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get in. I'm like, you sit at your computer? Did you wait? You probably had the most unproductive day at work. And, they're like, well, I didn't get in. I was like, well, here's talk to Todd.
If they don't get in, they're not trying hard.
Right.
There's a way to get in. There's always a way to get in.
Well, yeah, there's one year where I was like, I'm not coming back. And you're like, I signed you up. Thanks.
Let's touch on that. How many times did you quit before you finished?
6 times.
6 times. And why did you keep coming back?
Well, several reasons. I love Marji. I love that it kicks your butt emotionally and physically. It's a challenge. And it's unfinished business. I can't sit around like, oh yeah, I didn't do it. Never finished it. And each time, like I think you dubbed the phrase, I'm the most prepared quitter that I have. I did a talk on that at Marji Camp, and that was the craziest thing because I did that talk and I had a guy, because I have heart issues. I've always had them. They have been fixed recently, but I think going into that Marji Camp, I had like 2 ablations, heart ablations, or 1 heart ablation, which I thought was going to work. I had a gentleman come up to me and goes, "Good luck. I've had 4." I'm like, "Whoa, okay."
At camp?
At camp.
Oh, interesting.
He's giving me his experience. Now I'm up to 4 ablations. So I don't know. I love, like I said, it's like Iceman. I love that whole experience.
Yeah.
I love watching, like, Jim Likert. We call it the squirrels are gathering their nuts. And that's how it starts before that with registration. It starts, like you said, the day after Marji. People are like, I saw it last year because I volunteered. Because that was always my plan. As soon as I finish this thing, I'm coming back to volunteer.
Yeah, you were on the suffer crew.
Yes. I didn't suffer a lot because I had other obligations, so I had to leave early. But I came back because I wanted to finish it, And I love that riding. I'm a lunch pail rider. I'm not fast, but I'll get that stuff, And we've talked about it. I came into Marji in 2016 after listening to Jack Klein. He called me up 2 days after he did the first Marji in 2015. He's like, "Yeah, baby, this is Jack. You gotta do this Marji," and I won't repeat what he was saying.
There's probably some expletives in there.
Yeah, and he's like, "You gotta do it. This is you. It's up there." And I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" He's like, "That Marji bull, blah blah blah." And I remember at McLean's,
it was that Marji bullshit.
You had did you release like little flyers for it or something? Did you send them out? Because I remember
maybe at that time, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about it, and I'm like, "What is this?" I'm like, and all my experience. So my baseline for riding up here, Ore to Shore.
Yeah,
I've been doing Ore to Shore since the first one in 2000.
Yeah, that's another,
Yeah, and I'm
legacy event.
Yeah, I didn't know Ramba existed, South Trails, North Trails, just because of ignorance. Like, I never came up here to ride, and so I started hearing about this Marji thing. Mark Burnett, Jack Klein, Chris Sands. They came up to do it the first year, and it was like, I remember there was Chris Sands. He's like, "It ain't no Marji, mofo," or "It ain't no Iceman, mofo."
Well, I think they came up in 16.
No, they came up in 15.
Were they here in 15?
Yeah.
Really?
I remember seeing you had sign in on this notebook.
Chris and Jack were here.
Yeah.
Was
Mark Burnett.
Yeah, Mark probably was. That's right.
And they all got lost. Because that's what they do. Well, at least Jack. Jack would always get lost in a race.
He definitely did. You're right. Because I remember him cussing as he came to the top of Jasper Knob.
Yep. That's Jack. Any race. I remember doing a Mud Sweat Beers.
Yep.
Which is coming up this Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. Him at the EX, or not the EX, at the X100 when that was a thing down in Traverse City. X100, X50.
He got lost. Or he made a wrong turn.
Yep.
Every year.
Swearing.
You could have that course marked every 200 feet, and he would go off course.
Single speed guy, right?
Jack? No.
No, I thought he was oh, no, his knees were not good.
His whole body wasn't good. I love that guy. I miss him, too. Man, he
yeah, that was fucking terrible news when he passed.
He was the definition of toughness.
Yeah.
That guy could ride a bike, but he couldn't walk. He could barely walk after a race.
Did you ever meet Jack Klein?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he was something else, man. That mold, after he was made, that mold was broke. There was one of him.
It was pulverized.
Yeah.
He he's old school. He was positive old school. You know?
Abrasive,
but
funny.
He's like, there's very few people in my life that I classify this as, but he could kick your butt and put his arm around you at the same time.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, I didn't know him that way, kicking my butt. Yeah, from a race director. Like, I just remember we'd talk on the phone, or he'd send me a message, and he'd be like, "I love you, Toddy."
Yeah.
After he's got done motherfucking me.
Yeah, that's how he was. But anyways, I heard about it. I couldn't get up to it. I'm like, whatever.
He wanted the buckle too, by the way.
Yeah,
he wanted a buckle.
He wanted one.
Wasn't he? Did he have like a national champion jersey? Or
So he was. I can't remember what year. He was Norba or USA Cycling Masters cross country champion. Like
yes, I remember.
65 to 70. That was a big deal.
Yep, I remember that.
That if there was anything that would subdue that abrasiveness, it was that. We would talk about that.
Yeah. He
called me up. He goes, "I got the jersey." I'm like, right.
I remember that.
I said, rightly so. I said, that's awesome. And he'd be, I mean, he was abrasive and that was his attitude, but you would talk about that national championship thing and he'd get all, yeah, it was awesome.
As abrasive as he was also he's clearly an emotional guy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
sometimes it came off abrasively, but he was an emotional guy, loving guy.
He was.
Caring guy.
Oh, yeah. He was caring.
Yeah.
I know
it'd be easy to miss if you didn't know him well.
Yeah. And I think that came from, I think he was a Detroit police officer, beat cop.
He was a Detroit police officer.
Can you imagine?
I cannot
arrested
imagine.
by him or, I mean.
Well, think of the, daily reality of his job.
Yeah.
He probably had to be the way he was.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, I kind of look at him as kind of like Paul,
Yeah.
Well,
probably same era.
Yeah.
To be honest, age-wise.
Look at Detroit.
Yeah.
When he was a police officer.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, so I heard about this Marji thing, and I'm like, okay. And I came again, Jim, my buddy Jim Liker.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, Jim.
Slippery Jim.
Yeah, slippy hippie. Speed metal. So I started talking to Jim. I say this Marji thing. He's like, yeah, dude, let's go do it. So
sounds just like him too.
Yeah. So we came up in 2016, just Jim and I, and it was an evolution. So I didn't know about dropper post. I wanted a suspension bike, but all the suspension bikes were outside my budget and too small.
Yeah.
So I had my hardtail 29er plus hardtail that Scott built for me. Gets a bulk of my adventure stuff. So we came up, my gearing was a 34 tooth in the front and a 1042 in the back, 11 speed.
Mm. That sounds fun.
I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
I didn't know that this type of riding existed.
Well, a lot of people get into it with that same.
Yeah.
Less now.
Yeah. So, we get in. I don't even remember. I think it was easy to get in at the time in 2016. I don't even know. I don't even remember what we did to get in.
It was selling out then.
Yeah.
Not in a minute.
But so I'm like 100 miles. I can do 100 miles. Lumberjack. Done lumberjack 12, 13 times.
Yep.
Sub 9 hours, sub 8 hours.
Yep. We had people who've done Leadville. They would say the same thing. They're like, well, I've done Leadville.
Yeah,
it's the hardest mountain bike race in the world.
It is not.
But they came into it thinking it was.
Maybe the climbing is.
Yeah. Oh, the elevation is, unrivaled. Michigan does not have that, clearly.
So I have like Jack Klein, Jeff Dorr, Megan Dorr. They've done Leadville.
Yep.
Jeff Dorr is like, it's different. It's harder because there's a ton of climbing, but you can do it on a road bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard it was that Jack. One of those old guys.
Jack had done it too, right?
Oh yeah. Those guys have a bunch of Leadville buckles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people have come in from Leadville thinking this is not going to be an issue.
Great. So I came in totally ignorant, just like, I've done 100 miles. I've done lumberjack tons. 100 miles, sub 9 hours. Wrong. I get through Forestville. I'm like, dude, this is like the Vasa pathway.
Right. Because that front end is deceiving.
It is. And you can't go out pre-ride, So you hit Harlow, and I'm like, all right, this is getting better. Yep. And Harlow is like rooted. And that year you had Angry Bear in there.
Yes. First couple of years.
And so I get into that, and I'm like, what in the world is this? And I got Jim behind me, and I'm struggling on the hardtail. And I'm definitely like, okay, I'm underbiked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching these guys with dropper pose. I'm like, those things are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They're heavy, dumb, more mechanical stuff that can go wrong. Still, like, no way. And you hit that rocky section. We come out of Angry Bear that's next to Harlow, and we're riding all that rocky crap. And I'm like, holy cow, what is going on? I mean, what is my perspective, my baseline?
Yeah.
Ore to shore.
Yeah.
Like, this is not ore to shore. I can't even ride this stuff. And I get through the first 65 miles, and I get to Jackson, and I'm like, what did I just ride? And then there's some guys that were next to us. I don't even know where Jim's at. Don't care. And one of the guys is like, you ready for the next 45? I'm like, is it the same as what we just rode? No, it's harder. I'm like, all right. So I go into it. You know, it takes me 10 hours to do the first 65. And I'm like, and I got all my lights. I'm prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I am prepared, you know, and I had all the food and stuff I'm eating, you know, and I get my lights because it's like 6 o'clock. It's going to be dark by like 8:30.
Yeah.
Calculate all that out.
Mm-hmm.
I get out there and I'm like, what is that? And like, I'm walking stuff, you know, like earlier in the day after the South Trails, you got scary. To me, that was scary. I don't live a life of fear, but I was like, you can't ride this stuff.
Yep.
I get off, I walk down. I'm walking down those 3 super steep pitches.
Yep.
And then I'm, you know, fast forward to go to Ramba, and I'm like, what is all this? You know, you have like, I don't know, torn shirt, rusty bike. I'm like, I'm in over my head. And I remember I got like 90 miles in, and I was, wherever we cross, I don't even remember. I was debating with myself. I'm stopped. I debated because I'm like, I don't quit. I don't quit stuff. You know, I haven't quit a race since 1994, Kandahar Cup in Fenton, Michigan. Not going to quit this. And I'm like, and it was a debate. It was a psychological debate. I'm like, safety. I'm at night, in the night. I'm riding all this crap at night. I've never even ridden it. And I'm like, I'm underbiked. And that was the only race where I decided to quit. I didn't need to. Mm-hmm. There was nothing wrong with me other than I'm not doing this anymore. It was like midnight, you know, and I, you know, I got 10 miles to go. Really, that year was like,
we didn't have the Jackson Park cutoff in at that time.
No, you didn't have any cutoff.
Right.
So I knew that. I'm like, I can be out here all night. Mm-hmm. It was a moment of weakness. I failed that mental part of it. That's the only like race I quit, not based on mechanical issue, health issue. I just quit.
And that sent you on a journey.
A freaking long journey. Yeah, so I ride back like the day before we left Jim's car.
Did Jim finish that year?
No, he got really cold. It was like 55, but he gets really cold. Mm-hmm. So I ride to the car, and I'm like, all right, I don't even know how this is going to work. Do I take Jim's car? Oh, yeah, it's a little Subaru. I can't fit in his cars. And it's a stick. And I'm like texting Jim, nothing. So I'm like, I'm going to ride back over to here, go back, the car's gone. Anyways, he quit because he got too cold, went back to the hotel, talked about it. And he's like, what are you going to do? I'm going back. Because that started the whole unfinished business. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are the early years of Marji, mm-hmm. you know, quitters, you know, mm-hmm. you text quitter.
Oof, boy.
That was tough.
That was a tough one for people to swallow. Texting quitter. Yeah. They were like, what do you, people occasionally still do, but it's more known now. But back then it was like,
you don't want to do that.
They're like, you're a fucking asshole making people text you quitter.
You know what? I never.
I'm like, well, if they quit, they're a quitter.
But I never thought that. I'm like, this is part of the game. I am a quitter. It is.
Thank you very much. I mean, that's what happened. You quit.
mature enough to know, yeah, I quit. It's not easy, but I think it goes back to my growing up. Like, just be real.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. Especially now in today's world, no one wants to fail. And I tell my team, I don't mind that you fail, because what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to learn from it, right? Failure is a great
If you
tool.
accept it.
Yes. The thing I don't want you to do is fail at the same thing again and again and again. Right. There's a problem there. Yeah. My team knows that. They know. I'm not a micromanager. Mm-hmm. Here's what I set the expectations for the week. This is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. If we deviate from that, you better let me know, or you better let me take something off your plate, whatever.
Sure.
You can fail, but do it once. You learn from it, move on.
Yeah. Don't do it again.
Aerospace industry it's tough. It's tougher than the automotive industry. I worked in the automotive industry for a long time. Mm-hmm. Aerospace is tougher. But anyways, back to the Marji. So I started learning. Okay, Marji, I have to learn. I have to ride. I have to figure this out, because I'm not walking these sections, but I'm not getting a stupid dropper post. Those things suck.
Hey, where's the buckle in this equation?
Yeah. So
where's the buckle in your mind?
So the buckle.
Did you come to the first one thinking you were going home with a buckle?
Well, of course I did.
Okay.
I'm like,
that was the first problem.
So yeah, that was a problem. Because again, it was, I can get this under 12 hours. It's a 100-mile race. I've done these 8-9 hours. Yeah, but even like Beg M, where they do lumberjack, it's tough. It's single track, a lot of climbing, routes and stuff. But you can stay on your bike.
Yeah.
You don't have to walk.
Right.
You're not going to die. The risk of dying at lumberjack is very small. The risk of Marji, maybe a little bit more. I mean, I'm not going to die. But
injury.
Yeah, I was looking at
injury.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I'm like, oh, a buckle. I can do that. I want a buckle. So you go in fueled by the buckle, which is your ultimate demise. Now,
yes, it is.
It is. I've seen this over the years. I'm going for a buckle. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we should probably go for a finish. Now, if someone I know, like Kerry Warner, you haven't signed up for Marji yet, he can get a buckle. Jeremiah Bishop can get a buckle. Scott Quering. You know who was at Marji last year? Scoping it out. Brian Motter.
Oh, I did see him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, wasn't he coaching Corbin?
He had some...
He had some athletes in the race. Yeah.
He's like, I'm only thinking about it, Chad. I'm just here.
I saw him at Iceman.
Yes.
We talked for the first time, maybe ever.
Yeah.
I've known who he is. I think he's known who I am. We've never really had a chance to talk.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, it really seems like it. Everything I've heard is very positive. But he kind of suggested he's thinking about it.
Yeah. Rewind back to the early days of Michigan Elite mountain bike racing. He was this kid, scrawny little kid, showing up at the races, and we kicked his butt. Well, now it's the other way around. Look at him. He's like a muscle, 5'8" muscle guy. He's one
strong dude.
Yeah, he's won multiple Shawamagans and Iceman, or to shore.
Has he done a 100-mile race?
I don't know. I want to say no.
Yeah, I don't know of one he's done. I think I've always thought of him in the context of the the big three: Czech, Iceman, or to shore.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think some of this tough stuff, like he's done, like the whiskey 50 and all that just happened over the weekend.
24 hours of Pablo or whatever.
Yeah, Pueblo.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to Marji.
When did you let go of the buckle dream? How many years did that taunt and haunt you?
It was... So let's see, 2016, going in the first time, realized no buckle. 2007, and so like I talked about in camp, it's an evolution. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, I just got my butt kicked. I need to do something different. I need to figure out this type of riding. I got to probably get on a, core strength program, because you're all over the bike, buckle. I think it was like going into 18, like not going to buckle. I do think about it.
What year did you do it with the crew and you guys missed it by minutes at the cutoff?
2018.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
I love those guys, but I'll never ever ride with buddies again.
Well, it's tough in an event like Marji.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, they're so that was with Josh Scott, George Ernst, and Jason Barnes.
Yep. And it was minutes, right?
No.
Oh, it wasn't minutes.
You gave us 10 minutes, and we were still like a half hour away.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's right.
Remember sitting in the middle of Michigan Avenue near Nagani.
Yeah.
Sitting there, and we're all like, "Well, Todd just gave us 10 minutes," and I'm like, "It's 2:15. That's it. We're lucky he gave us any minutes. I'm done." Because to me, the cutoff 2:00. Mm-hmm. There's a cutoff. You're done.
Yep.
They're like, "We're gonna call Todd." No. I was surprised. You're like, "I'll give you 10 minutes," but we were like 35 minutes from the from the cutoff. Even coming, so that, yeah, if you have buddies that are better than you, do it. But I wouldn't ride with friends.
No, I actually think if you're going to ride with somebody, the way to let it happen is organically in the event. Like you end up matching up with somebody somewhere along the way, and it just works.
Just works.
Yeah. You kind of you form an alliance.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say that was a mistake, but I won't do that again. And they all know that. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. There was a few times when I wanted to beat someone up.
Seemed to be a theme when you're riding with people.
Yes. Mild-mannered, laid-back Chad.
Some anger issues under the surface.
Why do you have a black eye? Chad hit me in the face. But
have you ever followed through on any of your, dreaming of beating somebody up?
No.
Have you ever been in a physical altercation?
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Was it a fight? Full-on fight?
No. I ended the fight before it even started.
Okay. How'd you do that?
So my brother and I, grew up rural neighborhood. Mm-hmm. We have kids all over riding the bus. My brother and I were tall. We were like 6'5", 6'7". Mm-hmm.
Big boys.
Yeah. And some of the neighbor kids, we get off the bus, and some of the kids we didn't get along with, these guys walk like a bunch of stiffs. I turned around, picked the kid up, threw him in the snowbank. That was it. So
no fist fights in your life?
Well, I had a fist fight with my middle brother.
Oh.
We had a fist fight. So if we were going to fight, you imagine big dudes in a house. Mm-hmm. Mom's like, "Go outside." And this argument went all the way downstairs. Yeah, and I don't know, I can't remember, like we threw fists and knocked each other out or something. Mom just left us laying there. I can't remember, but here's, probably I don't get in a lot of altercations because I'm tall. People are like, okay. I've had some like verbal altercations. Like I just don't, like, I'm a quiet guy. I don't go around looking for trouble,
right?
But I end the trouble,
Right. So you just daydream about beating people up, but you don't follow through on it.
No, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably kill you. No.
I don't know. I think you're too nice of a guy to beat somebody up.
Yeah. I can tell you
deep
this.
down.
I can tell you this. So my younger son, he's married. He's been married for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm a grandpa too.
Congratulations.
Did you know that?
Yeah, you sent me pictures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Because I'm a grandpa.
Yeah, keep up, brother.
Yeah.
You can't remember because you're a grandpa. That's probably true.
I'm only 50. I'm only 50 years old.
Yes, very cute grandchild.
Yeah, it's a girl. I have no idea. I don't think he has any idea. So
he'll figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no other option.
I love my sons. Love you, Isaac. But I take sheer delight in watching you not be able to sleep.
Hey, it's coming of age.
Yeah, we went through the same thing with 3 boys. And it's good to see him. He's going to be a good dad. Yeah. He's a good husband. So going back to that, I remember getting to know his father-in-law because my son plays basketball with now his brother-in-law back in high school. They played. So I got to know Dan really well. And Dan asked me one day, he goes, you know, I really love Isaac. The guy is like mannerly. He's, you know, courtesy. He treats my daughter very well. And I'm trying to figure out where that comes from. I said, ask him. So you go back to when my mom told us, you do any of that stuff, I'll kill you. Like, I'm not doing that with my boys. So Dan asked Isaac, so where does this all come from? Oh, my dad was going to kill us. We do any of that stuff. And he, you know, models that. I modeled that with my wife and them, you know. Yeah, it's just what and I told him, I said, anyone that harms you guys, I'll kill them. My wife's, you can't do that. So there is, you know, I don't know. I'm fiercely protective of my family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know?
makes sense.
Yeah, I had that family cat killed because the cat attacked Isaac. Cat's done. So that's how I do stuff.
Who was here with you when you finished, Marji? From the
Everyone.
family?
So that's the cool part. So when I finished in
'Cause
20,
your wife was here, right?
no,
Oh, I thought she was.
no,
Maybe she was going to.
it's probably good. I say that because she's like, that's your thing.
Yeah,
I
mean, that's
yeah.
good that you guys have your separate things. I think that's healthy.
Is
Good
it?
thing. Yeah, I think so. I mean, ultimately, relationships are all very unique, and what works for you may not work for somebody else.
Yeah. I try to bring her up and stuff, but she's like, no, that's your thing. I don't know anyone. I'm like, well, let's get to know them, you know? And that's a stage in our life. We have no kids at home.
Yeah.
They're all out. So we're trying to figure out each other.
Congratulations on that, too.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I bet it is.
I have I don't have to spend $500 a week on food because I have three large boys.
Yeah. Yeah, they are big boys.
6'3", 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". They're not, well, my youngest son's slender like me, but the other, you know, you've seen Noah.
Yes, I have. He's been up here several times.
Oh yeah.
Shadowing you.
Yeah. He loves doing it. But back to Marji, it's an evolution. Like, okay, what do I have to do to conquer this thing? All right. Strength training. All right. I'm going to have to go up on a bike. So Scott built me a full suspension bike, went to a dropper.
Yep.
And then when I would come up for Ore to Shore, this is back before Marji Camp, or any other time, I'd go ride certain sections, and I'd ride it until I got it. So like Scary, I'd go park down at the bottom of the, cliff road?
Power Drive.
Yeah. And I'd ride up all the way up Mount Marquette Drive. I rode that yesterday on my gravel bike with a 40.
The road or Scary?
I was thinking about it, but I was underbiked. I did ride Harlow Farms on the gravel bike and pass some enduro guys.
So as part of the evolution, just to make sure we highlight it, you started strength training.
Yes.
Had you previously?
No. I always thought, I don't need to do weights.
Okay. So you started strength training and you got a full suspension bike. That's part of the evolution.
Dropper post.
Dropper post.
Then started riding, like when I was up here before Marji, riding those sections, mastering them.
Right.
Getting out, figuring it out, you know, how to use a dropper, how to ride that stuff. You know, strength training with Kyler Bradley. Good dude. And yeah, just like, all right, we got to figure this out.
How big of a difference did the strength training make?
A lot.
Yeah.
It made a huge difference because...
Have you continued to do it?
Yes, I still do it twice a week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, squats, you know, all that. Squats and upper body stuff. I mean, look at it. I don't have an upper body. I'm that classic, have muscle on my legs, but nothing in the upper body. But so yeah, the strength training helped with, you know, being fluid on the bike, having that endurance over 20 plus hours.
Yeah.
And it helped all the other riding too. And uneven terrain, you can, you know, it activates those muscles to be able to keep you from falling, you know, walking. It's an evolution.
Do you feel like the strength training has helped you off the bike?
Oh yeah.
Just like normal day-to-day living?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, like, what do I do at work? I engage my team by walking around all day.
Yeah.
You know, I ride to work, put in anywhere from 8 to 12 hours of work, ride home. So all that strength training helps with that. It's just an overall endurance plus a mindset. Like, we're going to conquer today, full throttle all the way, you know. But yeah, the strength training, setting up the bike, dropper post, riding those sections. Like, the best part is when, like, I'd come up, do Order Shore, the 48 miler. Sunday before leaving, I'd go ride a section, totally blown out. Because what do? You ride all that blown out anyways.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I'd ride.
Good approach.
Yeah, scary, or I'd ride Gurley, Doctors, Pine Knob. Like I said, Pine Knob was the first year you put it in. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is crap. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I got to learn this. So Pine Knob is one of my favorite sections. And when we do Marji Camp, people are the same. Oh, you can't ride this. I'm like, yeah, you can. Here's what you do. All the other coaches go, and then, you know, they're fluid. They're, you know, like Mark Krantz, Roy,
Acker.
Then you have the lunch pail rider. Might not be brilliant, might not be fast, but hey, guess what? I love it, and I ride it. Ride all three of those sisters or whatever they're called. Yeah.
How'd you overcome the disappointment of quitting 6 times?
So the first time, like I said, in 2016, I failed the mental game, and it was disappointing. But the other 5 times were physical issues. I think 3 of them were related to heart issues, where like Noah, it's like, Dad, you can't go out there. Yes, I can. No, you can't. He says, like, Mom's going to get mad at you.
Wasn't there a mechanical issue in there one year?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. So
Derailleur or something?
Yeah. So what was that? 2017? No. 19.
Yeah.
It was the year after
that sounds right.
the friends ride.
Yeah.
And it was within the first 2 miles.
Yeah.
We're taking off, and there's always that one
Out
guy.
of Forestville.
Yeah, there's always that one guy on your left, and he's on a fat bike, and he's just tearing up through, and I'm like, and it was just before the power line.
Yep.
The fence was closed. The gate was closed.
Yep.
So we're going along. I know that gate's closed, and I give him a wide berth. There was like a branch, a tree, and it caught my derailleur and went into the wheel. So my wheel was out of true. It was a carbon rim, but I had 3-inch tires on, and I like, oh no, it's rubbing on the swing arm, and I go to pedal, and my drivetrain's like clickety clack. I'm like, what? And I look, and half the upper pulley was gone, and I'm like, I did not train for a year to be taken out in the first 2 miles.
It literally is the first 2 miles.
Yeah.
Too.
And I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. George Ernst's wife is here. She's at the start line. I call her up. She's like, what are you calling me for? I said, I need you to go. And whether this would get me disqualified or not, because it wasn't support to everyone. I said, who is there? Chuck Hathaway and Sean McNamara. I said, go back to my cabinet at Rippling River. The code is this. There's a Rubbermaid bin that said bike parts. Grab that derailleur and bring it up to the finish line or up to the start line. And I need Sean the True, because Sean's a bike mechanic.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I get back, I clickety clack back, tires rubbing on the rear swing arm and stuff. Because I had my full suspension bike, and roll up, and I remember George's mom's there. She's holding my bike, and she's like, "You're just so calm." I said, "It doesn't pay to be upset." They come up.
True.
Chuck's running with my rear derailleur. I already have the pulley out. Take the pulley, put the pulley in, put the chain back on. Sean trues my wheel. I ride it. I said, "Still not good enough." He trues it again, and I take off. I just wanted to finish it, whether you would disqualify me or not for getting outside support. I'm like, I need to finish this because I'm done. I'm tired of coming up here, and it's an all day thing.
Yeah. That's in 2019.
Yeah. That was before COVID. And I got back on the bike and just take off. And I'm like, calm down, you know, because what do? You're like, oh, get back. I'm like, nope. So as I'm going down that downhill into Harlow, everyone's coming up. Matt, Acker, all that. And I still remember Megan Doerr's like, what are you doing? Never mind about me, just go. She couldn't figure out what was going on. I still remember that. So I hit Harlow, and Josh, Scott, Jason, George, they're all ahead of me because we're not riding together that year.
Right.
So anyways, I come into, you come into Forestville and you have kind of that right-hander in the single track that goes through. I kind of came in and bounced off all the rocks and like fell, scraped up my knee, hit my knee super hard, got back on the bike, kept going, bleeding out all over. I'm like, no, keep going. And as I'm progressing, I get to worst aid station. Knees like super swollen. I'm like, all right, I only have 45 miles to go. Get through there, and I remember it's after dark, and Josh had dropped out because it was like muggy. It was hot and muggy, 2019. And Josh and George dropped out. Their stomach issues. It was hot, whatever. Barnes was still out there. And I remember coming into the bottom of Marquette Mountain at 50 miles. And Sean McNamara and his wife, they're awesome cooks. They cook like every day. Oh, we're doing a brisket for the week. And they're doing,
Don't they have a food truck or something?
They used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not doing it anymore?
No. I'm sad about that. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. I heard it was good.
Yeah. Anyways, so I grab a bunch of little burritos that Sean made up, and I take off. But I remember Josh whispering to me, he goes, Barnes is like 20 minutes ahead of you. So in that whole 50 miles, just taking my time, not getting crazy, not throttling down to catch back up, because you're not, it's Marji. You just got to finish. But I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm only like 20 minutes behind Jason. So I'm making up some time. But as I got closer to Jackson, knee just started like, I remember riding the path up, the bike path after worst aid station.
Yep.
And I'm like, I can't like bend my knee. I'm like, no, I'm just going to ignore it. I get to Jackson and my son Noah's like, Dad, are you okay? Your knee looks pretty bad. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It'll be fine. See, it wasn't.
Swelling?
It was swelling. I couldn't even bend it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah.
Not ideal going into Ramba.
No, because what do you do in Ramba?
Yeah.
Like 25% of your day is walking in Ramba.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then.
Well, hell, for a lot of people, probably more than that.
Yeah. And that, I had to be smart and quit. I had to work on Monday. And I couldn't even, the next day, I couldn't even like walk. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably best. But it still plays with you, that whole like, what if? But I don't do what ifs. But it's like,
it's natural.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the rest were all like heart related,
After 20. So 21, 22.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, they're all heart related. Atrial tachycardia, AFib. And like we talked about early on, I've had 4 ablations to cure that.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was out riding, you called me. Like, hey, I got a question for you. It was out of the blue. Are my events causing your heart problems? Remember that when you called me? I said, no, I can have these. I've had it at work. I've had it, driving in my car. I've had it at one of the boys' basketball games. It's not your event. Yeah,
and it wasn't necessarily our events, but just the type of event,
Yeah, and it's not related to the, that high output.
Right. That's where I was going with it, is like just the physical taxation on the body.
No, it's communication related.
Yeah.
My past cardiologist / physiologist. It's like it's just a communication issue between the brain and the heart. And then it manifests itself through some crazy muscle issues. So ablation, you go in and you scar that area. They find out, you put your heart into that distress, they find that area and they burn it, scar it.
Man, that seems so wild. That's
Well,
so wild.
so the crazy part is it's not dangerous for the heart. They go through your femoral artery. They puncture your artery.
Yeah.
That's a major issue.
Yeah.
Because you're not like, hey, we got to stitch it up. So you got to spend 7 days, like, to me, I call it normal stuff. Just walking around, can't lift anything, can't ride your bike, can't ski, you can't do anything. Because the fear of that artery opening up.
Right. Some sort of rupture, I guess, or reopening.
Yeah.
God dang it, man.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
the last ablation, last year for me was not a good year. Because in April last year, I broke my femur and my pelvis.
Yeah, I remember that accident.
Riding to work. Hit a garbage bin. I'll never, ever live it down. We still talk about it. People are leaving little mini garbage bins on my desk at work, setting up trash cans around my workspace. Oh yeah, sorry. But again, my attitude was like, I did that on a Monday, was out Tuesday, I was back to work Wednesday on crutches. Stuff's got to get done. That's how it is, you know. But at the same time, I'm like, there's more wrong. X-rays showed no breakage, no fractures. After about 3 weeks, I called up the orthopedic. I said, hey, the bruising's gone, but it still hurts a lot. He's like, well, we'll get you an MRI. That doctor called me up. He's like, holy cow. You know what? You have a broken femur and a pelvis. Now it's not displaced, but we can still do surgery. I'm like, we've gone a month. Why? Well, we can still. I'm like, is there any issues? No. Good, we're not.
Well, what would they do? What would they operate on?
He said, he said we can put, to help with the healing, we can put some braces, screws and
But it didn't
pins.
It didn't need it.
Didn't need it. He said I could do it. And I'm like, we're not doing it. It's already healing up. That was pretty painful. But again, where was I? I was at work. I was on crutches, still crutching down to my team, still there. I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I mean, I was doing what under doctor's orders, still, icing it. But it's just not, even my boss, when I called him, hey, I'm not going to be in today. What happened? Had a bike crash. What? 6 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, I crashed on my bike coming to work. He's like, is this April Fool's? Because it was April 1st. I'm like, no.
Last year.
Yeah, I'm not. I said,
that's the first day he started working for 906.
Yeah.
Blame
Watch
Mark.
out.
Blame Mark.
Yeah, blame Mark. Anyways, I didn't do any racing, and I did Iceman, but it was not until July where I was actually off crutches and pain-free.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I mean, that's
some time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember rolling back home. I was only 4 houses down, and it took like forever to get in the garage. I'm like crawling all over my wife's car, using it as a crutch to get in the house. I'm laying on the kitchen floor, and my wife's like, "What is going on?" I said, "You need to take me to the ER." She knows when I say that. Oh, it's bad. So my wife's, she's like 5'3", 5'4". She's like, sit here, let me get ready, let me clear my schedule. She comes out, all right, just lean on me. Oh, no, you're going to crush me. 6'5" versus 5'4", it's not going to work. So I give her kudos for ingenuity. She comes wheeling out, because we have vinyl planking in our house, hardwood floors or whatever.
Yeah.
She wheels out her office chair. Here, sit here, I'm going to push you out to the back door.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So
she adapted.
She adapted.
She's a crusher.
Yeah. She's really tolerated 29 years of this stuff. It's never going to go away. She knows that.
Yeah, she probably enjoys it to a degree.
Yeah, but that whole thing, I mean, it goes back to my attitude and then what I've learned with Crusher, Marji, Plural. Adapt. Don't give up.
Nope.
I mean, I was still...
Keep her moving.
I was riding a bike on the trainer for like a half hour before I had the MRI done. Because my doctor's like, you feel comfortable, you can get back on the bike. You're just not riding outside. I have a bike. I had my gravel bike set up on a trainer. It hurt, but I had to do something. And then Dr. Boyce, he's just like, you were in here 2 days after. I'm crutches with, he's just like looking back, severe fractures. Like most people would have to be wheeled in. Like, well, I can still walk. And why don't you feel
pain tolerance, man? It's different.
I guess.
Person to person, you know.
Yes. So yeah, Marji evolution. Always the mindset of finishing. Kind of drives me crazy. Like, oh, I want to try to finish. I'm like, why don't you finish? You know, and my 6 years of not finishing, it's like an evolution. You know, every year I go in, I'm going to finish this. You know, and I have to be smart, like with the hard stuff. I remember on the fence line 1 year having atrial tachycardia, which I thought was gone, and talked to my cardiologist at 7:00 in the evening. He's like, you're done. Come and see me when you get back into town.
Yeah, I remember that conversation because you shared that with me.
Yeah. Got to be smart about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, that one dude a couple of years ago, we had a guy out there with rhabdo, a runner.
Yeah.
You know, he nearly killed himself.
What we do to do your events.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
We'll risk life and limb.
Where are we at on time? What's that? What time is it? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dang.
Got storms rolling in, severe. They said high winds, hail.
Yeah,
lightning.
I saw that gale warning.
I'm like, perfect. I think I'll go for a ride before I leave.
Are you heading back today?
Yeah. Well,
Well, that'll be fun going across the bridge.
If I get across. When we were up for Polaroid Ultra, I'm 0 for 2 on that.
Well, this year was a tough one.
I know, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was great and it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It was super
perfect.
cool.
It was a perfect storm.
It was perfect.
Yep.
I thought it was perfect. When I came off that single track section back into Sand River, you're like, how was it? I'm like, that's awesome. I was having a good time.
Yeah.
Even though my back was like, I could hardly pedal.
It was good through there. Everybody pretty much said that front end down through Laughing Whitefish and
it was awesome after
that single track was good.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was having a good time. Sun was out, it was like what, -15?
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, yeah, Todd, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was good out there.
Good old time. Passed a couple people when I could pedal.
Yeah.
Actually, when I saw you, I was in certain misery. I had like sciatica. I've never had that in my right leg.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's miserable.
And I kept going. My middle son,
Yeah.
he loves helping me out with Polaroid stuff. And that kid, he was my football player. He's the gifted athlete in the family. And he said, I'll go up with you. I'll support you. Because he's geared for that. So is Noah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, Noah's done it.
yeah. But
he's a vet.
Yeah. Yeah, I still remember. I can't remember his name. Nick Shue, the wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, there's a picture of Noah, the Reaper, and the Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I labeled it that. People got a kick out of that.
Oh, that's from Throwback.
Yeah.
Early Marji days.
Yeah. But my middle son, all 3 of my boys they have different personalities, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy, he burns hot. Even at Polar Ultra this year, he has full Carhartt on. He's like, Dad, it's freaking cold. Staying out at some friend's house up on the McClure Basin. And I remember waking up Sunday, and there was like foot of snow. Like you couldn't even see the tires on my car, on my SUV. And he's like, Dad, there's a ton of snow. I'm like, perfect. like looked at me like, what? I said, you don't understand. This is what you want. You got to have a Polar Ultra where there's snow. Last year it was a gravel race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a winter ultra this year.
Yeah, it was good.
For sure.
And I had all the gear. I mean, that's the other thing. Again, what do these events prepare you for? They prepare you for the event.
Mm-hmm.
You probably spend $1 million on gear and stuff, but
Polar Roll's the toughest one, the investment in gear, because it's so specialized.
yeah.
That's a tough
Oh,
one.
it is. So imagine looking for a sleeping bag for me.
Yeah.
I found one. Plus, I didn't want to spend like $1,000.
Right, which is easy to do.
Yeah, so I found a negative 20-degree bag. And it's like, it weighs 9 pounds, but it's also 90 inches long.
Wow, 9 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's on the cheap.
Yeah.
You know, I roll that up. I actually put it in a vacuum thing. It's like
They shrink it down, yeah.
Shrink it down.
That's smart.
yeah,
Because you're only going to use it in an emergent scenario.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because my son's like, Dad, so what if you have to use it? Well, you're gonna have to use it. Well, you can't have your vacuum thing. I said, I'll just stuff it all back in, strap it on. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it was still in a stuff sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm still working through that disappointment of quitting, but I was at, so I called my son, wrenched my back in that after the road was 20 miles in. I can't ever remember that.
20 miles in.
It's after you
Rock
get up.
River Road?
It's after, yeah, well, it's,
Before Chatham?
yeah. Well, no,
Or after?
I should know. I bike packed it in September before. You get off the main road, off Sand River, and you go into, it's like a 2-track in the summer, and there's a snowmobile trail, and it was all whoopy.
Dirt Nonata.
Yeah, Deerton Road or
Yeah,
whatever.
over there.
Nonada
It's
or-
by the snowmobile trail.
yeah. And I remember floating through there, and I was like, man, I got to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wrenched my back in there. And I'm like, oh, and I always have an issue, my lower right side of my back. I mean, I do a ton of sit-ups and, squats. I always strengthen it, but that's what wrecked me. I still hung on, but I remember I could barely walk. I was at the boat launch, 53 miles in.
Mm-hmm. Lebasser?
Yeah, and my son met me there. What's cool about that, the snow was so compact in the driveway and all that. It was like concrete. So cold. I was like,
Well, that's definitely what firmed the course up.
oh yeah.
The cold temps had it just,
Yeah.
it was like a road.
So I get there and I have a couple hot dogs and go in the warming tent, and there's this kid in there. His feet are like blue and red. And he's sticking them in the stove. I'm like, you're all right? Yeah, I'll be fine. I said, I got a ton of toe warmers and stuff. No, I'm good. He was suffering badly.
Was that Josh?
I have no idea. He's a younger kid.
Younger kid.
Wow. Younger than
Younger
me.
guy?
Younger
I think
guy.
it was Josh. Because he ended up dropping due to improper footwear.
Yeah.
Might have been Josh.
Felt bad for him.
Yeah, he was
But I
struggling
didn't.
there for a bit.
I felt bad, but then I didn't. Like, dude, you got to prepare.
Yeah.
So Ethan comes down. He's like, Dad, what are you doing? He thought I was smoking dope in the warming tent because there's another guy that smokes marijuana cigarettes that races with us. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm in here warming up. So we go up to the car because I have, I switch out my bladder for my pack and get some more toe warmers and hand warmers and all that for the next 8 hours. And I can barely walk up the driveway. And he's like, what's going on with you? Yeah, told you my back is wrenched. He's like, but you can't walk. He's got my bike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'll be fine. He's like, Dad. All right. He's like, he knows. All right, back off. So that was like from that point to the visitor center.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest part of the race for me because the snowmobile trail was all choppy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was rough.
Wind.
Yep.
I mean, it was like, according to my Garmin, it was like negative 21 degrees, which was fine. I had all the proper gear on. I wasn't cold at all.
Yeah.
And I managed my sweat really well. But I just couldn't pedal with my right leg.
Yeah. No power.
And I'm like, Like, let's see, I got 100 miles left to go. It's going to be all night. It's going to be super cold, which is fine. I'm prepared for that. So I got to that visitor center, and I couldn't pedal anymore. I actually got stuck in the snowbank because the snow was up to like my knee. Mm-hmm. Called my son. He comes. He's like, "What are you going to do?" I said, he grabs my bike, and I sat on the outside picnic table, sitting there. Wind's whipping off from Superior. And it's like -20. Sun was out though. Mm-hmm. Just sitting there, and I'm like, oh. Again, it's that mental anguish. Is it going to be pretty? Will I be able to finish? What's it going to be like?
Yeah.
Am I going to put myself in danger? Which, at -40 degrees, 45 that it got up there in the northern part, you got to weigh that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I got to work on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Or Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna probably have to call her about here.
Yeah.
Because I have a meeting I got to get to.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The
time flew.
Mark's got a full agenda. Can't leave until your work's done.
Oh yeah. Oh, we just rolled out a leadership summit. We're rolling right into registration this weekend for Bike Club. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a lot going on. We actually have to talk this afternoon about registration and getting that link up. That'll be when I come back.
Yeah, we'll have to commiserate on Adventure Team and Travers. We've talked about that in the past.
Yeah, we got to get one down there. I mean, it makes sense. There's one guy that was at the summit this weekend is planning to launch one in the Gaylord Grayling area.
Yeah, Gaylord Grayling area they're hopping right now.
Yeah.
They've asked NIMBA we'd help them with trail development and stuff. So
it's good.
It's good.
It's good. I mean, I've been saying all along that I think every community should have one of these adventure teams. It's, these teams are serving kids that aren't on their traditional sport teams.
Right.
But it's still giving them the same types of lessons that all kids should be given.
Right. And it's so important. I was thinking about that because you were talking about it with, I don't even know, all of whoever. And I can see that in today's, I'm not so much corporate world or privately owned aerospace business.
Yeah.
Where this format, 906, equips those kids, like you're talking about, your first round of kids are in the work area, the work community.
Yep.
And I see the difference between kids who want to be comfortable and kids who are like, let's go. It's very rare.
Becoming rarer.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I spend a lot of time developing a couple of my team members because, I'm not going to say they're quitters, but just let's go. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for them because it's 5-6 days a week. It's go, 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 and I see that like when I was raised like, don't give up. You do any of this stuff, bad stuff, and kick your butt. Go out, you be on time. I mean, I don't even notice, but when I walk into I take my hat off. It's something my grandpa taught me.
Yeah.
Don't wear your hat inside.
Yep.
But
old school values.
Old school stuff.
Yeah.
And I taught my boys, you're late when you arrive at the top of the hour for work. So.
Yeah, 10 minutes early.
Yeah. So I deal a lot with attendance issues.
Yeah.
Why are you here at 6:01?
Yeah.
Oh, you got better on time.
Yeah.
A lot of engagement.
Well, let's talk about the adventure team stuff offline.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. We're going to roll.
Thanks.
Over and out.